All right.
So yeah, what I was thinking about doing with that guy, because he touched on a little bit of the church thing. Maybe I could get him out of the shuttle a little bit by asking him, because he was saying what Jesus meant by, or what Jesus meant by "I am the truth, the way, and the light" was it's just this. And I can maybe kind of come at him, and say, okay, well, there's a lot of ways to look at that. I mean, did Jesus actually live? I mean, what are you saying? I mean, because if there's time and space, and he actually all of that stuff. So I can maybe kind of get him to come out a little bit, but there are some guys that just won't come out of that shell at all.
Yeah.
It's
Have you had
this.
that so far with your conversation?
Oh, well, not with mine. I went to one guy, and man, it was hardcore, man. He was hardcore. It's just this, and I would try to, okay, well, that doesn't really mean anything, because it is just this. So we're subjective points in time and space and what have you. I said, so are you a human? And he said, well, that's a stupid question. I said, is it? Are you a human
that's a
being?
stupid question?
Yeah, he said it's a stupid question. I said, is it?
Oh.
I said, okay. I said, so so you're a human being that exists on Earth. And he said, it's a ridiculous question. Of course. I said, okay, so time and space exists, matter and motion, cause and effect. And he goes, well, no, time and space does not exist. And I said, you're a human being, but time and space doesn't exist. I said, so what does that mean? And he shut me down. He immediately, this is all just intellectual nonsense, and it's just this. And I was like, yeah, yeah and no. I mean, to just sit there and say it's just this, that's not really doing.
Space-time is doomed.
I think it is. I mean, I've never, I think space-time is it's there's no way you could look at it and say it's objectively true for any two points in time and space. Even if it exists, it's I mean, it's unvalidatable. You can't say it's objectively true for anybody. So what does time and space mean if it's not shared? And what does that mean? I mean, what is dimension?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, if we are both in this, if we're sharing the room of the universe, time and space, but yet, we can't even know ourselves to be objectively true, let alone each other. Well, then what does time and space mean? I mean, what is that? Isn't that a suggestion? I mean, even if you believe the story of separation in time and space, you have gravity that can stop time, right? Black holes, all that can stop light, stop time. Light itself, the motion of light is a misnomer. Because light doesn't actually move. Photons don't move. And it's our perception of electromagnetic waves that move, that we're able to perceive a certain fluctuation within the electromagnetic field that's omnipresent. And electromagnetic field is everywhere. It's one of 17 to 24 fields, depending on what theory you want to look at. But because of that, I mean, that means that a photon does not experience time. It doesn't experience motion. It's like if you see a photon leaving, or a photon of light leaving a star 40 billion light years away, it's supposed to take 40 billion light years to get to your retina. That's how long it took to travel that distance. But to you, that's what it seems like. But to the photon, it's instantaneous. I mean, it's already here and there. It never moves. So, I mean, that's, so light, to say that everything is predicated in physics off of the speed of light, everything we know about relativity is about that. And that the speed of light, which is supposed to be constant, which is not. I mean, it's already proven that it's not. So it doesn't even move. But even within our ability to detect electromagnetic waves, it's not constant. So everything we know about physics, really shows physics to be completely subjective. It,
Yeah.
it's amazing, but you know, your velocity compared to the speed of light is supposed to directly affect how you view time and motion, time and motion and space. So your velocity relative to the motion of light is going to tell you what kind of time you're in. That, I mean, and then, but then to say that light or a photon doesn't move means what? I mean, how can that, you know, it's just, it's truly a mind bender, but the physicists really don't have any answer whatsoever. All of this stuff, even, you know, Einstein said, is completely subjective. He says, I say the speed of light is X amount. It appears that way within this scale of reference. But I can only know that light goes that way and then reflects back to me within this period of time. But I don't know if light is the speed of light as it appears to us and then comes back reflected instantaneously, or if it takes, you know, 99% of the time to get there and 1% back, or 1% of the time to get there and 99% back, because we can't measure time. I mean, we can't measure light because, you know, there's just no way to get on the other side of the beam to see from a start to beginning. So you can only measure it as a reflection. And so you can only measure it at on a two-way street. You cannot measure a single stream. And from there, and just from that, you know, Einstein saying everything I say from this point is absolutely subjective to the assumption that the speed of light is one direction, moves in one direction at that speed. But no one will ever know that. And so that is just another way to say that it's just this. I mean, it's just another way to say, well, we don't know. There's no way to know.
Sorry, I'm dealing with a little situation here.
I love it, man. I bounce around all the time.
No, you know, it's, I think it's like 90 degrees in here. So I think the AC's, well, there's doing work on the building. So I don't think there's the air conditioning. It's basically out for a few hours.
Oh, I hate it when that happens, man.
Yeah, so I'm just dealing with that. It's a little warm in here. And I'm drinking coffee, so maybe I should be.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. A nice balmy 65.
Where do you live?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh,
nice. You're up in New York, right?
I'm in Boston.
Oh, Boston. All right, all right. Love the Sox.
All right, cool.
Love the Green Monster. Gotta love it.
Yeah. You've been there, Fenway?
Man, I've never actually seen a game, but I've been by the stadium. You know, I mean, but I always see it on TV. Love the rivalry. Love the rivalry between the Yanks and the Sox. You got, if you don't love that, you can't love baseball. You know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So, just like stuff you were saying earlier, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he said he wanted to know about the practicality of all that. So, like, if he would have listened to you, he said, that's all great, but what can I do with that? You know, he's like, I'm suffering. How does that alleviate the suffering?
Well, okay. There's no way anything can alleviate that kind of suffering. I mean, suffering and searching, suffering and physical pain.
Suffering in the sense that, let's just say, probably a lot of negativity, sort of, depression.
Well,
I'm just saying, does this have value for a seeker or somebody who is feeling very discontent
it promises nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah. Well, it can't. I cannot say. That it's just a ridiculous thing for me to say. Like I can help you in this way or that way, or this will help you. There's no way that I can do that. No way.
That was his criticism of this. Basically, we'll say the uncompromising message.
Well,
is that it has no value.
The funniest thing is it's absolutely true and absolutely right that it has. I mean, it's valueless, but the counterintuitively, for me, it is baseless. That it's got absolutely no tether to any kind of promise. That is what's beautiful about it. It's honest in that way. It is beautifully honest and brutally honest in that way. You cannot run, you cannot hide, and in fact, in that way, it seems like unconditional love, which can be a kind of a bitch sometimes. I mean, unconditional love is a loaded phrase. That says a lot. But you can't choose what you love. You cannot choose. You love what you love, and everybody will tell you, oh, you can't. That woman is this, or that person's gonna screw you, or this or that. Well, the thing about it is, if you love them, and there's nothing that anybody can say about it, right? In the same way, this is that way. Once you realize that there's no way to get around it, no way to get over it, under it. This is it. Once you see that, I mean, it's not a choice. It's just you see it, and then at least for me, I find it beautiful. It's actually
I do
real.
Too. Yeah, I do too. But
it's real and unreal.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here because on one hand, we could just both talk about the awe and wonder of it all, but then because of this conversation, I have it on my mind that for you and I to discuss the magnificence of this mystery and the awesomeness of just somehow being a part of it all, being a part of it all, but there is no me, but there is somehow this
appearance of separation, I reckon.
Appearance of being like, not even the separation, but there seems to be a presence to it all.
Yeah.
An isness.
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
Right.
It is nothing, but it's nothing being everything, I guess, to quote Tony Parsons. And that's amazing. And we could talk about that all day. And I think that's what we did last time. But then I do have that question about, well, it's not even a question, but it's just like, what do you say to that? The fact that there really is nothing on offer.
There's no, yeah, that's true. But there's also no, nobody's, nobody can negate anything either. So whatever you thought in your life, whatever it is that, your secret friend is seeking, whatever he wants to think or do, or whatever feeling he might get as for presence and awareness and all of that kind of thing, all of that is just as accurate as anything else. Think about the magnificence of that no matter what you ever thought or ever done in your entire life, all of that is just this. Within the context of an individual that is in a Q&A or having a conversation right now, we bring our apparent consciousnesses to this soiree. And so what do we do with that? Just play with that idea that nothing you have ever thought or said or done or experienced is not this. And so there's it's not like you can be negated. You can't say, okay, I could say the self doesn't exist and it's just this. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's no tether to what self is. Okay, you go on for billions of years about that. You know, there's no objective truth to the self. You are not the object of your brain, therefore you're not your brain. You are not your mind, which is the culmination of the brain or the effect of the brain. But your mind, what appears to be your mind, is telling you a story about physicality and dimension. But none of that is objectively true. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is that that's the nature of consciousness. You can't know it to be objectively real, that there is a self attached to your brain. And you don't know if the brain exists objectively. You don't know if separation is real. So all of that kind of stuff leads you where? It leads you to this weird kind of tetherless place where everything that you've ever believed, everything that you've ever thought to be real is just a story. It's just this. And what that means is that there is nothing that you can say that for me to say you don't exist, but we're here having a conversation, right? So what does that mean? It means that conceptually we're here as individuals. Objectively, there's no two separate points in time and space. So this is the story of two individuals having a conversation, right? We bring our consciousnesses to this apparent, separate reality, and in the form of this conversation. But what does that mean? It means that everything that you've ever thought, everything that you will ever think, or all of that story of time and space in your entire life, essentially is right here, right now, and completely tetherless to no position. And so what that means is that all of the cages of words, all of the stories that hold an individual to a position or of any kind, whether it be psychological, physical, mental, whatever you want to say, all of that is gone. It's gone because it's not real in an objectively true sense. And so from that point to this, you're looking at a completely tetherless, foundationless reality that you know what? It has no rules or laws or probabilities. It appears to, it seems like it will, but think about it in that way. The presence or the awareness or whatever you want to say about it, all that means is that it is this and not separate from it. So that marriage of trying to become something is completely irrelevant because it is now completely whole. But to say that we don't exist conceptually is to try to negate something in order to complete something that's already whole. We can't say that we as concepts are not here. We appear to be here, whatever here means, right? So we do and do not exist. We do exist conceptually within the context.
What exists?
What is existence? Existence itself does and does not exist. In that,
well, you're saying we exist as concepts.
Concepts having a Q&A.
Yeah, purely.
The appearance, just as existence, appears to be this, but this.
Well, you're saying, but I think what appears is just bodies, and
well, you can't know any.
But the idea of a separate individual autonomous self doesn't appear.
Well, you know what?
It was a belief or a false assumption.
Yeah. Well, essentially, outside of the immediate experience, there is nothing exists, right? So there is literally no thing. So because this is relative to no other position, it is literally not a thing as we would understand things in relativity. So it appears to be everything and nothing. Everything as it is, right here, right now, outside of time and space, meaning it's not a time or a place, and not a thing because it's relative to no position. But also the fact that, you will go about your day and I will go about my day after this is done. What does that mean? What is that? You leave and take the totality of existence with you. And I am just an appearance within your immediate experience. I am here to tell you that immediate experience doesn't know or not know. It just is. And because knowledge itself is not connected to any kind of object, it's not like I am saying something as an object that knows something about another object. That now is completely irrelevant because there are no objects, so there's no knowledge. And it's not even understanding, it's not awareness. You need two different points in time and space to be aware. There's literally no word for it. But you will take immediate experience, the totality of existence, with you about your day. And I am here as an appearance, simply to have, simply showing itself. But you yourself, don't exist objectively as you appear as a human being. You appear to be a human being, but it's not objectively true that you are, because of, the brain object thing. So,
right.
so there's what it is that the totality of existence is expressing us here and now, as separation, and, but it's not even time and space. As far as, like, let's take it to Boltzmann brain, for example. Boltzmann brain is the likelihood that out of nothing, did the world just, or did the universe just come into existence, and all of these billions of trillions of light years and everything else that we see to be reality in separation. Is that more likely, or is it more likely that a brain, that comes up with your memory and everything that you think is real, just blips into existence, blips in and out of existence faster than existence? I mean, then we can even say something exists. I mean, like in Planck time, say, which is the fastest, something can happen. So a brain pops into existence and pops out of existence with everything that you think is reality, everything you think is in time and space, but it doesn't exist. It's literally trillions of times more likely that a brain, or the story of individuals in time and space, blipped in and out of existence before, it could even be said to exist, than it is that
What does exist?
Nothing. And we'll see
What
within
is real?
nothing. Well, nothing's real. There is no reality. There is absolutely no reality. That's the beautiful thing about it. And see, and when I say beautiful, I mean, let go of the attachment that something has to mean something, and you will. And even that's paradoxical, because there's no you to actually do it. But
because then you'll be attached to not being attached.
Right, exactly.
That'll be your practice.
Exactly. And
non-attachment.
and well, but see, and then even there, for me, it gets fun, because now I'm not even doing this. I'm not thinking. I'm not the one that's moving my arms. I'm not the one speaking. Speaking is happening, and I am happening. But it's not me happening. It's the story of me happening. It's the story of us having a conversation.
So oftentimes people will ask, what is aware of that?
There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. See, this is the hardest thing.
How is it cognized or seen that there's something happening? How is this expression happening?
Well, see, that's what I was going to get to.
Appearing to happen.
Well, Boltzmann, like with Boltzmann, he's a scientist, so he's coming up with ways and reasons and numbers and the percentages and the likelihood that this is real this way or that. Whereas what this is basically the lack of cause or effect. They're literally, numbers don't exist. Words don't exist. You know, just as individuals don't exist in time and space, words and numbers that represent things in separation don't exist. So there's
all
no,
knowledge doesn't
all
exist.
knowledge.
All knowledge is made up.
Yeah. Well, it's not even made up. It's just expressed, because the hardest thing to deal with is the lack of cause or effect, the lack of reason, meaning, or purpose. Like, we think of things like a puppet, like an automaton, is somehow controlled. You know, it's autonomous, but it's been programmed, right? There's a reason for this robot to do these things, even though the robot doesn't think. So we must be somehow, you know, connected to something that makes us do this. And that's the hardest thing to deal with. There's no reason. There's no purpose or meaning. This happens independent of cause and effect. It just appears to happen, but it's not even a happening, because happening requires a cyclical chain of events. So what it is just this spontaneous blooming of a story that appears with all of its warts and all of its beauty simultaneously. It's totally everything in between, bliss and agony, and everywhere in between at all times, it seems. You know, I mean, but, and then, you know, to say time, it's impossible to talk about.
So why do a lot of speakers, you think, and you even used it, unconditional love?
Unconditional love is there's no words to do it. You know,
It's just a poetic way of saying it, right?
Well, because of this, okay, we're saying there is no matter of the mind, because there's no mind. There's not our mind, right? But your heart, say your heart. You can't control your heart, right? At all, right? You love what you love. That's it. You don't choose what you love, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't choose anything. There is no I choosing.
Right. But that feeling, right. I'm alluding to that feeling of
feeling of love.
That feeling of love. Okay, you have no choice over that, right? So it's much like that feeling of, you know, all of it is paradoxical. None of it makes sense, but say falling in love, because you see that this is just this as it is. You can't hide from all of the ick and the yucky stuff that's happened from day one, all the way to the beautiful thing. Everything that has happened, you know, as far as the ugliness and the beauty, is as it is here and now, regardless of what you may want to do about it. Now, once you realize, once you let go of the want, and even that is paradoxical, but once the want is gone, okay, the desire to change,
apparently let go of,
well, you no longer want to, when you don't want to change anything, and you are literally totally happy with how it is, no matter what. That's why, you know, people will say, you know, I was a monk. He's coming across he's going down the road, and some samurai guy, big samurai guy, he's coming by, and the monk doesn't give him the proper respect. The guy jumps off his horse, and he comes at him with his sword. He goes, "Don't you know, I've been training my whole life to cut your head off in a heartbeat." And the guy grabs his sword, he puts it to his heart, and he says, "Don't you know, I've been training all my life to not care that you do." You know, I mean, it is what it is, you know, and so that's kind of what we're talking about here. It's no matter what happens, good or bad. Like, what was that JK said? You know, the difference between us is I don't care what happens. Okay, what he's referring to is that you no longer want to change it. It is exactly as it is, perfect as it is.
Choiceless awareness.
The whole thing. There's no more trying.
JK, are you talking Krishnamurti?
Krishnamurti.
Yeah.
He used to say, a lot of people say it, like UG would say, you know, there is no reality. And people would say, but no, what do you mean there's no reality? I mean, there is no reality. There is no word. Well, what do you mean? I'm speaking to you now. No, you're not. You know, it's like, and people would just go absolutely shit. You know,
well, all that's obvious. You know,
right?
And So what I tried to explain to my friend was that on one hand, if your mind is completely exploded, just to use an expression, I don't mean mind like literally, but I mean if your mind is fucking blown, and you know, I mean everything you're saying could blow someone's mind, you know, because it's just mind blowing shit, you know. And if you can have your worldview radically changed,
Yeah.
Which nobody can produce,
Right.
and it's just an apparent happening anyway. You know, it was like I used to think this way, and now I think this way. You know,
Right.
but
Right.
it's not me doing the thinking. But somehow this shift happened.
Yes.
Nobody can fucking explain it. It didn't really happen. Blah blah blah. All that. But then, you know, you can see, yeah, there's an apparent shitty situation happening.
Yeah.
But it's not happening to me.
Yeah.
It's not actually even happening.
Yeah.
But there is the experience of it happening. And
It's happening.
but I'm not taking it personal.
Yeah.
You know, there was this extra layer of everything is happening to me or through me, or I'm a victim, or I caused harm and I'm guilty. And I feel like, you know, it's just always, you know, not being good enough and trying to arrive somewhere. I was always trying to arrive.
Oh yeah.
And I never knew that there was no place to get to, and there was no one that was going to get there. And that if, you know, if there is actually somewhere to get to, it's right here, right now. And it's always, and it's never not happening, and it's never not this, and it's always been this.
Yeah.
Ever since you've been aware of this.
Yeah.
It's
It's
never not been this.
Yeah.
And there's no convincing of that to anyone until their mind gets blown.
Yeah.
To bring it back around where I started.
Yeah.
So but I don't know how to, you know, I don't know how to blow anybody's mind.
Nah, it's the same. Well, it's the same. Like when, like it was so funny. My first interview with Emerson, the first thing he asked me was, "What's your awakening story?" And I was like, "Really?" But the funny thing is that it's the same contradictory thing. There's no real person there to be enlightened. Yeah, I have a story. Everybody's got their story, how this happens, but that's not what it is. It actually literally points away from that.
Exactly. Because it's a story, because there is no mind. There is nobody here that had this experience.
Right.
It's all what's apparently happening, but it did apparently happen.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's always
to happen.
Yeah.
To no one.
Yeah.
And
for
it
me,
did change the internal condition of this appearance.
Apparent individual. Yeah.
Yeah. And
all of it. Yeah.
Because, like I said, there was this layer of everything's personal.
Yeah.
If you know, there's a person there, there's a person here, and your words, you know, of this. I don't know. It's just
the beautiful thing about it is you know, some people are really depressed. I mean, some people really find this depressing. And you know, I guess, I mean, but only if you ever thought that the story was true. Like if you're still holding on to, you know, again, paradoxically, if you're still holding on to, you know, the notion that, you know, you wanted to be an astronaut, or Santa Claus exists, or, you know, God is, you know, all of these kind of ideas. All of that is just just amazingly beautiful, but they're just stories. So the funny thing is that as a story, it's pretty freaking powerful. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, to be expressed as the totality of existence, and to have my story, my consciousness of what I did, the enlightenment story when I was 8 years old, or all these different little memories I have, all of the stories, and all of that just all culminating right here, right now, much like UG or Kate or Buddha or anybody that ever said anything. These are not people that existed thousands of years ago. This is just appearing in this moment right here, right now, with the story of the ancient, sage or whatever it is. And that's just as much blooming into, into this for no purpose or reason as it is the story of God constantly coming up. People always referring to God or presence and awareness and all these kind of things. That is
All
amazing.
concepts.
All
Yeah.
concepts. And it's
Yeah.
amazing to me that it constantly comes up, but that is a part of just this. And so the whole idea of there being a God and something to be lorded over, is prevalent throughout the story of my life anyways. But that's the funny thing. No matter where I go, there are these stories about somebody wants to get somewhere, or a God, is looking over me, and these subject object, or I'm going to, meditate like the Buddha, or any of that kind of thing. The Nirvana, all of it.
I like the idea that God is playing all the parts better. If you're going to use a myth,
Right.
I'd like to think that God manifested himself into all the appearances.
Well,
and all the stories, and gave the illusion of free will, and so people could interact and have relationships, and all this mystery, all this, that's a beautiful, I like that.
well,
I know it's not true, but it sounds good.
Well, how do we know? Well, no, I mean, where I go with that is how do we know? We don't know. It's a story. It's Alan Watts who brought it up. God got tired of knowing everything, so he made an unknowable situation. And no matter what we do, okay, we cannot know the actual truth. There is no actual truth, or you're right or wrong. So the amazing thing about the God analogy, that the God that doesn't want to know, everywhere you look is unknowability. So the more you look and the more you realize you cannot know objective truth, the more you're honoring this God of the unknowable. He doesn't want to know. He didn't want to know. I mean, he got tired of knowing everything. And so this, it makes sense to me that everything is unknowable. No thing can be known. A thing cannot be defined. Consciousness cannot be described. What I'm saying?
It's like when you have a baby, you have the choice of being surprised or finding out, right? So imagine, so God has this choice of being surprised or no, and he chose surprise.
Yeah. And for me, if
so
that's
we're always unknowing.
Well, right, the unknowing is actually the honoring, the God of the unknowable wishes.
Well, according to the story that we're making up right now, so God chooses unknowing.
And so to honor the and to basically realize that, and to stop making up stories or attaching yourself to some kind of meaning, purpose, or reason, you are in fact honoring God's wishes in that context. There is no meaning, reason, or purpose, because God wanted it that way. So, but
of course, I wouldn't believe there's an entity that chooses unknowing.
Well, no, but you're God.
It's a nice myth.
Well, no, this would be God. In that context, this would be God. And that's what people always say, this is awareness or God or whatever. Okay, if that's the case, then I am God. I am the God of the unknowable. I don't know anything, and nothing can know me objectively. I can't know that
people want to put labels on it. They want to call it awareness, consciousness,
I call it the church of the unknowable, the church of
you know.
the God of the unknowable.
Those
I mean, if
words
you can
don't
do it,
resonate with me.
put what words on it? Like you're saying, are you saying that what do you think God is?
What do I think God is?
Yeah. I mean, do you believe in God?
Well, all I think is, I think there's this apparent happening, like, everything is nothing appearing as everything. I don't know how to describe it. My sense is that it's just a complete mystery, but that I don't think there's a creative intelligence. I'll put it that way. I think it's in a way like just like nature. The grass grows. It appears to grow. The people appear to be people. Like you said, Alan Watts. It's like a apple tree, apples. The earth is peopling. We're coming out of it. I didn't come into this world. I came out. Something like that. Like. Yes, we're all just expressions of whatever is going on here. That I don't know what it is.
Right.
But it's like this table and these, that TV, this phone. This phone is, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's everything's blows your mind. I'd rather be in awe than know a bunch of shit.
Well, isn't that's what Alan Watts was saying God is.
Yeah.
That would be that notion. That would be that story that this is in fact God expressing unknowability. But the thing about like a God that is so it's so easy to latch onto is that it's like the unmoved mover. It's the cause without, it's the effect without a cause. And but that's what this is. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but that's what this is. It seems like an effect without a cause. And so you don't have to look for something that created this. This is creation, but it's not.
Yes.
But it's not created.
You're looking at it.
Yeah, you are it. You're looking at it.
It's like the what's looking is what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you've heard that. Yeah. That's I think it really, but not just what's looking, but the looking itself, the seeing, and the seen. So the seer, the seeing, and then the seen. The whole
thing.
There's nothing that's not it.
it's so amazing in that way. I mean, just and that's why for me, to say it's just this, I would like to preface that by saying this is it's not even finite or infinite. It's not even a time. So
that's why when they say this, they usually go like this. They're really trying to, they're saying everything. You could use the word everything.
I once caught a fish this big.
This is it. Yeah, that'd be great if you have a guy holding up a fish. You should post this on Facebook. This is it.
I once caught a reality this big. Yeah, so I mean that's and so let's get to go back to practicality. The practicality of this is I mean the word practical is a misnomer. The counterintuitivity or the counterintuitiveness of it is that in its lack of practicality is the bliss of what is. I mean, that's just the way this appearance sees it. I find it beautiful. I find it amazing. I mean, but to
Well,
be
it's
able
like
to,
the purposelessness and
yes,
the meaninglessness
yes,
is the freedom. But,
yes,
traditional thought is like, if you don't have a purpose,
yeah,
then you're gonna, want to end your life or something.
right,
Uh,
right,
but knowing ultimately there is no purpose, there is no meaning,
yeah, yeah,
no
that,
value, no hope,
yeah,
no hopelessness either. There's
yeah,
either, both and, neither and, all of it
yeah, yeah,
negated, nothing, pure
yeah,
nothing. And that is freedom. But I guess if you're sort of in a personal prison, it sounds like, there's no purpose to my life. Well, there is no life. There is no your life to have no purpose.
right, yeah,
If you had
the,
a life, then you would need a purpose.
right, and then simultaneously, it, the the conceptual you appears, and so
Yes.
the conceptual you appears, and you think that there is, and that concept wants to think in terms of mechanism, a cause and an effect, and meaning and purpose and all of that kind of thing. But for me, no. um to know that I, as anything around me, just kind of happens out of nothing, and goes to nothing, instantaneously. Everything I think is real is completely, just unknowable. That to me, just I just I love it so much. I mean, it's almost, I feel as if, personally, sometimes I have to check myself, because it is exactly perfect the way
Mhm.
I love it just the way it is. I love that everything could change on a dime. I love that, for all my bluster and talk, I mean, if you move me this way or that, man, I start getting real irritable. I hurt. It's pain. I love that I could die that I could be gone, just have a heart attack and go. I love that. I know this sounds. I mean, I don't want to get too weird about it, but I love that.
Go ahead, get weird.
Get weird with. Well, I love just the odd nature of right here, right now. What what does appear to be just this? Is it the wars all around the world, the famine, the disease, and the hate, and the hunger, and the pain, and all of that kind of stuff, and and yet the beauty of just simple kindness one to another, to all the different, just amazing things people do for each other, all of these things happening at this, at the same time, this weird, in this unknowable little speck of nothing, in this vast blah blah blah. And you can get into all of the inner space, the outer space, the fact that there is no space, uh all of it, happening, just blooming right here, right now. It's just, to me, is it for example, to say it's just this, and say, okay, well, what's just this? You couldn't tell me. You couldn't tell me what this is. I mean, you can't just say what is this. If I were to ask you, just explain your environment right now, what's going on in your immediate experience, I could give you a million years. You would not be able to explain every detail of what is happening in this apparent moment. There's no way.
Mhm.
Zero. Because A, you can't know whatever you're conscious of is undescribable. There's no definition in a hard objectively true sense. So there's no self, no consciousness. Reality itself is completely unknowable. Existence. So this here now, as just this, obviously cannot be explained. They cannot
Mhm.
be. So even to take this little moment, the speck of a flash of a Polaroid of just this, and for me to try to explain to the appearance of someone else what is happening right here between the two of us in this conversation, would take me. It would never be completely explained, because everything within it is completely unexplainable. Everything within it, everything that appears is unexplainable. So just this is mystery, times a bit on steroids. It's just mystery everywhere. And you know what? As far as practicality is concerned, that to me, the awesome actual truth of that, the only thing that we can know is that we can't know anything. That is not an opinion. That's a fact.
But this,
You
you know, it also has nothing to do with, let's say, happiness.
right,
You know,
but that's the beauty of it. But that's the
you don't
beauty of
have
it.
to be happy. Who told you
No,
you have to be happy all the
this
time?
this
What a
isn't
fucking
about.
burden. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of it. The
What a crock of
honesty of
shit.
that. The honesty of it. I mean, that makes me happy to go to actually see something for its ugliness and for its brutality, for the fact that I could be, that guy walking along and some guy comes around with a sword and says, "Yeah, you didn't give me my respect. I'm gonna now kill you slow." That's a fact that could happen at any time. I mean, it's not hard to get into my house. Somebody can come in here and just do whatever they want. And I would have to, I would be like, damn, I guess this is just this. But that brutal, ugly reality, okay, is contributing to my happiness in that I must accept that as just this. That is just this. So for somebody,
like I said, there's this other layer that is hard to describe, but on the appearance, I could have what looks like a really shitty day.
Yeah.
I can be really upset about it. I can react to it and all that. But there's some layer that's just not there that used to be there that was, it would go on for days and it would be, now it's just like, sucks, and it's okay. It's that okayness with the appearance of things not being okay. It's that it's all right, even though it seems to not be all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay that there is no answer. The no answer is the beauty of it. The non-practicality is the beauty of it. The fact that it's not trying to lie. It's not trying to tell you something that is not true or something that will be next or better or more. No, none of that none of that exists. So within that presence of self and other and all of this, and to realize that you were talking about anger. I get angry all the time. I mean, because it's hard I'm in pain, so I get irritable quick. But the funny thing is about anger, it's like I always equate it to Dr. Banner when he became
Bruce
the Hulk.
Banner?
Yeah, Bruce Banner.
David Banner, depending
David
on
Banner. David, yeah.
If you watch the show or not.
Right. It wasn't like, his girlfriend getting attacked or, it wasn't some major issue. It was like he scraped his knuckles on the ground when he was trying to change his tire and he turned into the Hulk. It's like all of it. You got Creed with nuclear waste at the lab. I mean, there's all kinds of things happening all over the world. He goes all the way through this like succession of events. But what gets him is he scrapes his knuckles on the ground when he's changing his tire and he turns into the Hulk. And I'm like, it's the shoelace that breaks, your house burns down and you're like, okay, I can deal with this. Your wife leaves you, okay, I can. Your kids, there's
it's the straw that broke the camel's back,
right. And then bam, exactly the straw that you snap a shoelace. And the next thing you know, you turn into Lou Ferrigno. But yeah, but that's that is, the practical freedom of it, couldn't it be? Like,
yes, like well, I guess it was kind of just going a bit in a circle. This. Not our conversation, but the one I'm referring to in terms of just, the so-called whoever person that's in pain. they hear all this and they just keep coming back to, how do I apply that in my life?
Well,
You know,
yeah.
like they're like, I hate my job, you know, like all these situations, whatever, make up your own story. You know, or my world is crumbling down and you're telling me none of it's real, you know, and that just makes the person even more angry.
Well, see, for me, it's like this. It's not that it's not real. It's real and it's not real. It's both. It's both. But I mean, that may sound like semantics to the guy that hates his job, hates his girl, hates everything. And I understand all that. But the funny thing about it is, you know, in the lack of a lie, like in the lack of a promise for something else, I personally found joy in that. You know, because it doesn't mean anything. None of this means anything. So the you know, it's hard to say if somebody, you know, wants it to be something else. You know what? I'm sorry. You know, it's just not. You know, there's nothing I can do to help you. You know, I mean, you're pissing up a rope. I mean, you know, I mean, you can believe in stuff if you want, but it's never going to be objectively true or real. You know, but if you believe it, you know, it's real enough for you. If that's what if I get that a lot. You know, well, you know, I mean, why not just do it like this so that, you know, it will be more palatable. It'll make me feel better if I just thought of it this way. Well, go ahead and do that. It's not the way it is, but go ahead, you know, but does it matter?
Let me ask you a question. Like, what do you think? Well, there's no value in anything, and I guess there's no real. Everything's just what's apparently happening. But there is this apparent situation where people repeatedly go to meetings and almost on a loop, a constant loop, listen to YouTube non-duality videos. You know, I've been guilty of this in my story.
I do too. Yeah.
So, and it's an interesting phenomena that it's like you keep listening to this message that tells you there's no purpose or point to the message over and over again.
Yeah. But see that's I mean, for me, the practical aspect of it. I mean, the lack of practicality, because whatever shows itself to be practical is actually inaccurate. I mean, it's chasing a story to make it more palatable or whatever. That does not make anything better for me. I don't like hearing bullshit stories. You know, I mean, you know, Jesus died on the cross and blah 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 blah. Okay, believe that, and I feel great, and I can pray and do all these things. Is it real? You know, I mean, you'd be hard pressed.
What about techniques? What do you employ? Any practices?
I become the pain. I become what it is. I mean, for all y'all, you know, it's not. It works for me. Like when pain really comes hard, or when things get really difficult, I become the difficulty instead of running from it. And it's hard sometimes because it hurts like hell. But you actually become that difficulty, and it could be pain so far as the the hammer hitting the thumb. It could be pain, mentally, physically, whatever you want to do, psychologically. Instead of running from it, actually immerse yourself in it and become it. I mean, I mean, sometimes it takes more than others, but I just get into every little nook and cranny of what it is that's bothering me, and generally speaking, I don't get bothered that much. I mean, because I get bothered by things. There are certain things that do bother me. That I spent 10 grand on this thing that I got ripped off on, and that pisses me off. And I'm in the middle of a feud with that, or a fraud case with that. So I'm a little bit perturbed about that. I was mad about the people that didn't do what they said they were going to do, and this and that. And I got angry, and then I got over it. But it's just, what are you going to do? You got to go through the process. And and within that process, you do what you got to do to get by. But the thing about it is, if you do face whatever it is that's bothering you, okay, and don't try to hide anything at all, whether it be physical, mental, psychological, whatever kind of issue it is, immerse yourself in. And I'll tell you what, you can't hide from yourself and what's bothering you if you truly are honest with what's going on. I mean, it could be tough. It could be like a war, but you'll never want to go back. It's like fighting somebody that's an equal to you, and you get in there, you start tangling up, and you're giving as good as you're getting, but you want to go back in there, man. You don't want to fight that guy anymore. He doesn't want to fight you because you're kicking each other's ass. It's the same thing when you're
Well,
really
so
bothered.
can you like sort of talk me through that process, like what you do?
Yes. Well,
I mean,
okay.
not in a way that I'm gonna like do it right now, but just sort of
Yeah.
like what kind of walk me through
Yes.
what you do.
Well,
Yeah.
like with pain, like physical
Yeah.
pain. Becoming the pain. When I say that, I mean, there's these little fine points of pain. There are the aching pains, and then there are the little, the little itty bitty intricacies that really are the basis for everything else that's going on. Get into what, to actually envision the nerve endings, envision, the tendons, envision how they're stressing from the bone, envision your bones crushing against each other with no cartilage. Actually become it. Put it in your mind and actually see the mechanism not working correctly, and see how it's not, become that, and it literally dissipates.
Wow.
For me, that's how it does.
Well, it seems like it could almost intensify, but just the way I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Well,
But I'm
at
not in
first,
pain right now, so I wouldn't know, but I'll have to try that.
it literally is counterintuitive, because
Yeah.
your thing is you want to get away from it, but
Right.
you go right into it. And much like
Because
your
a lot
friend,
of people seem to like observe it, from a distance.
I become it, and
You get right in there.
I get right in there, man. And just like your friend that needs practicality.
Yeah.
Okay, you're looking for practicality in the wrong place. The practicality is in the lack of the practical. Because I guarantee you, it just seems to me like that guy's looking for truth. That guy's looking for something real. That guy's looking for something that, and you're basically saying there is no truth, there is no real. The counterintuitive nature of spinning that around instead of running from that. Become that unknowability. Realize what it is.
I think he wants a
run from it.
concrete, there's a problem and there's a solution. I have a headache, I'm going to take some aspirin.
Right. Yeah. Well,
And then I'm going to get relief, ABC.
That's interesting. I don't take any painkillers. I don't. I very rarely.
Well, that was just an example
Well, no, but
wanting a concrete, like how to fix,
Mhm.
not pain, not physical pain, more, I'd say, psychological.
Yeah. The answer is there is no answer. I mean, and it's unfortunate for anybody that refuses that, because they're going to go and keep looking for answers. They'll never find it. You might believe something in the end. You might say, okay, this is good enough, or I don't want to know that there is no truth. Some people just say, look, what you're saying makes sense, but I don't want to think this way. I don't want to look. It scares them, And for me,
well, they get a sense
funny.
of vertigo or something, like
right.
They grip onto the couch.
and I try to explain to
reality
them
is being shaken.
that is the you thinking that it is real in the first place. The you thinking that you can think. The you thinking that you can do something one way or another. And when you realize it's not you, okay, there is no free will. A good way to illustrate that is, if there were, this would be the Big Bang. I mean, if you had free will, then you would be able to you would know about every cell in your body. You would know exactly what made you. You would pick your parents. The nature of your line all the way down through the beginning of life itself would be a process that you had a part in. But you don't even, you just kind of woke up one day alive. You know, I was just like, oh wow, man.
Well, you know, people do think you pick the parents.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You know that
whatever.
there's a whole thing about and I'm not making fun.
Right.
I'm just purely mentioning there is you know, what pre-birth planning they call it.
Right. Well, I guarantee you there's a lot of parents that don't think that they pick their kids. Yeah, you know, the thing is, if that is the case, I mean, what do you think? I mean, that would indicate what if you could actually
I don't
pick your
think
parents. Yeah.
the thing I see, I respect and I honor, and you know, everything. There's no truth in what I'm saying. There's no higher truth. I can only speak from what seems to resonate with, you know, here. And it's not talking about past lives, future lives, choice, that I had a choice before I was born. I don't think I have a choice now. I don't think there's an I to have a choice. I don't think there ever was an I to have a choice. I don't think there ever will be an I to have a choice. So all that stuff doesn't resonate with me, but it, you know, it's very popular.
Right.
And you know, it's funny, you know, non-duality is a huge umbrella.
Oh, it's huge. It's massive.
Yeah. So when you get in these groups and stuff and start chatting, you know, it's a variety of things can come up. So there you go.
Yeah,
it's not my jam. We'll put it that way.
Well, you know, I was listening to, I was watching Andreas stuff last night. You know, just trying to get a feel for, you know, just get some reminders. And man, God Almighty, he's so good at fielding questions. I mean, he's just, I mean, the way he stays on point, it's amazing to me. He's really good at it. I mean, and there's a lot of people out there. That last interview that Emerson did with him, he's
Mei Ling, is that her name? Is her name May?
No, Emerson read Non-Duality. Interviewing
with who?
Andreas. The last one he did with
I thought
him.
You just meant the last one he did. Yeah.
No, the one he did with Andreas was beautiful. You know, he's asking him all the questions about, you know, from the different sages, you know, all the different.
Oh, with the quotes.
Yeah, the quotes. Yeah. I thought that was beautiful. There's really nothing, you know, there's nothing that you know, I'm the same way when I read a lot of that stuff. You know, people ask me, you know, what speakers do you read or something like this. And my problem with a lot of the speakers is they're talking to you know, they're talking to people that want answers. They want I don't know. It's one of those things where it kind of gets watered down. You got a speaker that say that you know, he gets a house, you know, he's got a manager, he's got an agent. You know, there are people that are they're relying on it. There's publishers, there's book people, he's got a book deal. You know, you got to come up with stuff to say. And a lot of these guys say, you know, they don't even believe it. You know, they're not, you know, it's one of these things where
because they have pressure to put a book out.
You got to put a book out. Yeah, it's a money.
And how do you write? How do you keep writing about this subject and say it in a different way?
Right. Yeah, and to
put a different spin on it. I mean, you can't. So all you could, I think, like Andreas. That's why most of it's just transcriptions. I think of talks because how do you write? You know, prose about non-duality. I'm sure. I mean, people do, but I don't think I'd be able to do it.
Well, it's never, you know, the hardest thing to write about non-duality is, I mean, well, for me personally, is to get used to the fact that, you know, as you're writing it, it's wrong. You know, there's no matter what you say, it's wrong.
As
You
soon as
know
you put
you're
the pen to the paper, it's fucking
it's
wrong.
wrong. You're not saying anything true. So for me, it goes from being the like I'm a guy that looks at the little person in the screen, and the little person in the screen is saying X, Y, and Z, and I know that X, Y, and Z is wrong, or I know I would have said it this way or that way. Somebody asked him a question. Oh, he could have said it this way or that, or she could have said it this way or that way. Well, now I'm the guy on the screen, and somebody's asking me a question, and I know as soon as I start speaking how I would critique myself. You know what I mean? Like I know how I'm being incorrect, and there's no way to be correct. There's no way.
No.
There's no way to say it because words need time and space.
I think that's Chip Newman's problem. Not that he has a problem, but I'm just saying I've heard him say this, so this is why I'm saying this.
Yes, yeah.
Not that I've come up with this on my own. He's saying that he struggles with, every time he writes something. I don't know if this is still the case. This is probably an old YouTube I watched. But he said, every time I write something, I read it, and like you just said, it's wrong, and he crumples it up and throws it in the garbage.
There's no way to be. There's no way to be right. There's no way to be right on it. And the more what I found is, the more intricate I get with it, the more I try to explain, the more spaghetti it gets. It's just spaghetti. It just turns into spaghetti. And instead of trying to get too intricate, I try to do little blurbs, like little quick ones. And those are a little more palatable. Like you were saying, the 3 to 5 minute little quips are way easier to deal with. But to actually try to
speaking of it, to be alive in the moment, and although the words might be wrong, it kind of doesn't matter. But once you put it on paper and it's like in a book, and like, this is my take on non-duality,
right,
forget about it.
Yeah. Well, I have to agree. There's
that's why the poets, sorry to interrupt, but the poets, because they have a leeway. They can use language and flowery and
right.
express it in this way that it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be correct. It can just be what no one's going to judge a poem.
Well, you're expressing flowery, flowery ways of how you can't know something, but how beautiful it is not to know, whatever it is. But I agree. The cool thing about the speaking live is it's like the lack of a safety net kind of deal. Even like doing this kind of talk, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can about stuff, and it's so ridiculous to do that. And then to have a room full of people, all 10 of them with different perspectives, say, and each one of them is asking you a different question from a different perspective. And, for, the way I like Andreas, or even Jim Newman and Tony Parsons and people like that, to be able to stay on point in that way, rather than curb their answer to how that person might understand it. They just stay on point of what they're saying. I try to do the opposite, and it usually turns into nothing. Every now and again, something might you seem. I mean, it's like a sharing of some kind of experience or something. But for the most part, I don't have that yet. I don't have that ability to just stay on point regardless who I'm talking to. I kind of try to make it make sense to that person. And
how far do you take it is my question, because Andreas, if you asked him, do you speak English and German? He's going to say yes, I think. But he could say, there's no one here.
I appear to,
blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? So it's like you could take it to that extreme, and then there's like no possibility of a conversation at all.
Right.
I think answering questions in that way quite frankly, is probably easier
Yeah.
than whatever else,
Well,
because then, there really can be no confusion
yeah.
if you just keep coming back to the fact that there's no separate individual, there's no separate existence,
Right.
there's no autonomy, there's no free
Right.
will. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just keep hammering them, chopping the heads off, as they say.
Right. I cannot help but to explain why, though. A lot of people have issue with that, as far as some say there is no explanation, or some say but yeah, it's the story of Sandy and I were talking about it. The guy pointing to the moon, right?
Right.
He can't get you to the moon, but he can point you in the right direction, right? Well, and then if the person actually understands what you're saying, follows the trajectory of your finger to the moon, and they get to the moon and realize it's not there.
We're pointing at nothing. Nothing's
right,
pointing at nothing.
right. There's no sage, there's no teacher, there's none of that stuff. None of it's real. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, there's no you here, there's no there. And I mean, but that's I get some people as well. It's they want to talk about other teachers or whatever. Well, this person says this. I did this with this person for 5 years. I was at this school for 5 years. I was there for 10 years or whatever. And this is what they say. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I mean, if you still believe it, I would suggest going back to that school. Or if you, I mean, it's the cup, your cup's already full kind of thing. If somebody comes at me with a bunch of ideas that they already have, and they're asking me to, to comport with their ideas, more than likely, it's just not my pointer, or whatever you want to say. What I mean? So it's, your cup's already full. What do you want me to do? I can only be, the appearance of me. But it's the same thing with the one fella that said he was a human being on Earth, but time and space didn't exist. And the whole time he talked about it, how great his golf game was, because he didn't think about things. He doesn't think about anything. And I'm like, well, I was like, well, there's room for that. I mean, it didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But a lot of people
But
seem
I
to
think
like
if it's improving, so if it's appearing to improve someone's life, if they feel better, they're having more peace of mind, then
if it improves your golf game, yeah, man, have
if it
at
improves
it.
your golf game,
Right.
then
I don't.
yeah, man, I'm not gonna.
Oh, Coquila's
my
here.
My wife says, "What's that?"
Coquila is here. Young lady. Hello, Miss Coquila. Hey, Miss Coquila.
Coquila.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, fine. This was easy this time.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you tried it. You wouldn't believe how. You wouldn't believe how easy. You wouldn't believe how easy it was once I finally found out how to do it. I was like, oh gosh, I've been torturing people for weeks
with all those passwords.
Yeah,
It's like Fort Knox trying to get in here.
Miss Coquila, how you feeling today?
I'm doing very well. Very good. Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing lovely.
Do you have a bed yet?
I do have a bed. It's not the one I ordered, and I'm going through fraud charges with the company and all that. But I am on a bed, which is nice. It's just the wrong bed.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Oh, it was a horrible experience, but
it was a terrible story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, thank you for reading that, by the way. I was definitely reaching my limits of patience on
Oh, I guess. Oh, my
8 weeks, right, Kokila? That's not acceptable,
Oh,
is it?
terrible. And how's your neighbor doing?
I mean, he's doing much better now, but of course, I go upstairs this morning and he passed out on his lazy boy chair. I said, I got him a brand new bed upstairs and he fell asleep on his lazy boy.
Oh, after all that. Oh dear.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm so
well,
glad to see you.
your picture is blinking in and out. Your face is going in and out. But anyway, it's fine. I can hear you.
How is that? Is that a little better? No?
Yeah, there's still stuff going on, but it's
Yeah, let's see.
fine.
Let me see here. Boink. Da-da-da, da-da-da. Virtual background.
I mean, I can see your face fine and the background is pretty. It's just kind of strange.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
always
it's-
weird with the background, I think.
Let's see. I'm trying to figure this out here. Oops. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Right.
Now there's,
Don't go away.
I was gonna say there was just the background and no Howard.
Yeah.
I'm getting it. Here it is.
Well, he's not there anyway, so.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to go none. How's that? Better?
Much better.
Yeah, you're clearer. No background. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Hello, Walter.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So did you have a good weekend, everyone?
How about you, Walter?
Not bad, not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great one myself. Absolutely. How about you, Miss Kokila?
Oh, I spent a lot of time with my dear little grandchildren, so I'm just blissed out whenever I'm with them.
Oh man.
They're 2 and 3 years old. Little boy is 2 and the little girl is 3. And they gave me a new name now. My name is Me Mama.
Me
All of
Mama.
us, Me Mama. So, and they're asking me all for me all the time, which is very nice.
Oh, you gotta love that.
Oh yeah. So
Are you giving them stuff behind their parents' back?
well, they would be they're being raised vegetarian as I am, and but no sugar, no. So I can't give them any treats. I'd had to stop eating them myself. So I got that 10-pound COVID year increase. So I'm working that off right now.
Yeah, I think I went for 50. Went for 50 pounds on that one. I'll use the excuse I have. I can't move.
Yeah, you don't have exercise. Well, that's a
Yeah.
good excuse. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad to see you, Kokila. We were talking about I forgot what we were talking about right before you came in, but I know one of the subjects we just kind of touched on was some people think that they pick their parents. What do you think about that?
I actually believe that. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So so do you want to elaborate on that? I mean, you want to talk about that? 'Cause that's fascinating to me. I mean, there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, I know. I've just, how I've studied with a lot of gurus in India and read a lot and everything. So just because of that, I kind of think that's true. And I don't know why I would pick my mom, because she had, from the time I was 14, she had nervous breakdowns every year. So every summer, she would go to the mental institution and get shock treatments. And I would take care of my brother, Tom, Bill, my sister, Grace. Then there was John, Jean, Pat. And Pat, when I was 14, was 3 months old. So I was 14 and I took care all those kids plus the 3-month-old baby all summer. And that went on. You know, there were other kids born and I took care of them. And so I say, I don't know why I picked my mom, but actually, I was able to give the family, my brothers and sisters, a lot of love and took care of them. So I think it made me a better person, you know.
Well, now you're taking care of orphan kids and stuff. I mean, yeah, there's something there, right?
Yeah.
Being able to take care of children like that. Yeah. There's
Being
gotta be
take care of
something.
children. And so I became a teacher too. And so kids have always been a big part of my life. And yeah, that's
Well, that's
probably
amazing.
why.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of people go the other way, you know, when they have a terrible or when they have a bad experience that way.
I know. And it's funny because when I look back, I have to give myself credit because I did it. Well, basically I did it for my mom, but I did it for my dad. My dad was, you know, he was totally stressed out having all those kids, and he was a truck driver for Ballantine Beer Company. So he had a hard job. And, but I really wanted to keep things together well for him because he was desperate, you know, with his wife being so sick all the time. So, yeah. And I very honor my dad because with all those kids, he made me go to college. And I grew up in a Catholic school, went to Catholic school, and I was not going to go any further than high school when I got out. And he's told me the day I graduated, oh, yes, you are. You're going to college. You're going to go at night. You're going to pay for it, work during the day and pay for it, which is what I did.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would be proud of myself if I were you. I mean, there's a lot of folks that that try and fail at that. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, to grow up in that situation and then to work your way through college at night, that's definitely an accomplishment.
Yeah, well, I loved college. I didn't go to a Catholic college, so I was really delighted, you know. So, you know, I went to this beautiful college. It was the first year, it was a 4-year college. It was in New Jersey, and it was Monmouth College. And it was in it was held on Woodrow Wilson's summer home, which was like a palace. It had all this wonderful marble hall and marble staircases. And it was, every room in the college was painted by a different country. And so we had our classes there. Of course, now they have just the principal, the supervisors and principals that are in those rooms, but we actually had college classes in those rooms. They all had a fireplace in them, and it was quite wonderful, just the whole place itself. Yeah, plus the teachers. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned India. Was there a favorite teacher that you met there?
Yes, I met a few. I think I've told you a few of them were totally disillusioned with some of them. But there's one man who his guru was Amma. She's the Indian woman who hugs people. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's very loved in India. And that was, he knew her as she was young. They both kind of grew up together. And but he's very humble, and he's in India. He lives there. He's actually German, part German, and so humble. So he has people come up to his place, and it's beautiful. It's just out in farmland and in India, outside of Tiruvannamalai, and just a humble man. No big ashram or anything. He just takes questions, and we sit. He doesn't charge any money. You know, you can contribute something if you want to, but yeah. his name is Werner. And you have to take a rickshaw out of the town to go out to see him.
All right.
It's, yeah, very nice. And but most of them, the good ones, have the same message, which you've heard from me, you know, which is, which is that we're not our body and our mind, right? And we're just spirit, if you want to say, or consciousness, or I know you don't say consciousness. But to me, everything is consciousness and awareness. So, yeah. And yeah, I just was reading today that there are, oh, I think I was reading something from Andrew, right? And he was talking about how many people, so many people are awakened now and so on. And I was thinking about that because there's more awake people in the world now than ever before, because of social media, for one thing, because you can see Muji and Adyashanti right on Facebook. And yeah, so it's great, because as Rupert Spira, who's another wonderful one, he's like, well, it's no big deal. He said, people are waiting for some big happening. And he said, some people say, oh, is that the way it is? You know, and that's the way they understand it. It's like, oh, okay. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always blows me away the most when you know, I'll talk to somebody about this kind of thing in detail, and they just kind of shrug and say, huh, yeah, okay, you know, and then just move, and that's it, you know.
I know. We're waiting for some magical thing to happen, and it's there all the time, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think I saw Alan Watts said something about it. The Japanese call, there's like 3 different kinds of awakening. You have the one that just sees it for what it is and just moves on with their life, you know, and just nothing changes really. And then you have the teachers, you know, the people that have to speak about it. They just want to talk about it. And then you have those that just have to immerse themselves in it. You know, they don't talk to anybody, or you know, they go off into a cave and, you know, experience it by themselves for their entire life. It changes everything. And,
right.
Yeah.
You carry the water and chop the wood, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then Ram Dass said all that, right, in his book, Be Here Now, years ago.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the message. Be here now. I mean, it's, you know, just be present, being present. You can't be anywhere else. That's the thing.
Good. Yeah. And then of course, you know, it's not a here or a now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just what there's something in India. It talks about 10 things, but at the end it says all you have to do is look, listen, and trust. Mm-hmm. I kind of like that. That's all you have to do, because you're not doing anything anyway, right? So
right.
You're listening, and trusting. Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah. Look, listen, and trust. Trust about what, I wonder?
Well, one of my gurus said, well, not trust, because trust is thinking of the future or something. You know, you don't trust. You don't need to trust. You just have to be, basically. Yeah.
I was speaking to a young lady, and she was talking about trust, and this. She was saying that she joined some kind of church or something, and she trusted the people that were running the church, and she loved them and this and that. And I said, yeah, you know, trust is kind of a funny word, because it kind of means that I'm expecting you to be a certain way, and I trust that you are going to be the way you've appeared in the past to me in the future. And so it kind of, it's on one hand, it's kind of a backhanded compliment. It's like, I trust you, but at the same time, that puts you that puts the other person in a spot where they have to be a certain way in order to keep your trust. And so I was trying to explain that to her, and she hung up on me abruptly.
Oh no, I understand what you're saying. And what my thought of trust is, I don't even trust myself, right? I mean, I don't know what am I going to do. So it's not that I put my trust in any person, because that's proven to be wrong, but just the trust, I guess, trust in the universe, or trust in,
Yeah.
you know, yeah,
Yeah, I get that, definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
it will be as it will be.
yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
it is. It is. If you can be there. And I love one of the terms Muji always says is, I'm not life, I'm the witness of life. I'm just watching it evolve, you know, just watching it evolve. And
Right.
yeah, because we're not in control, that's one thing.
That's definitely a fact.
Right.
That is
Did you
definitely a
stay
fact.
with Muji as well?
I've seen Muji in Tiruvannamalai in India. It's in the southeast of India, and he goes there because it's quite a pilgrimage place. Ramana Maharshi is an Indian who's
Yeah, the
dead
mountain
now.
is there.
Pardon?
Arunachala. Arunachala.
Oh, Naruna. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
On
however
the
you
map.
pronounce it. Sorry.
Have you been there?
I'm from Boston, so I don't know how to say those words.
Oh, yeah. No, Arunachala is right. And
I'm just joking.
it's a
Just my accent.
wonderful mountain. And that's where Ramana Maharshi spent many years. He never left the mountain from the time he was like 16 years old. He lived there. And now there's a beautiful ashram there. So a lot of people from all over the world go just a few months in the year when the weather is not terribly rainy or terribly hot. So sometimes in December, January. And so I have gone to Muji's lectures. Oh, also in Rishikesh. That's where I went to see Muji. He used to be in Tiru. And he's beautiful. And the auditorium fills up with like 2,000 people
Yeah.
for him. And these are Westerners that come there to Rishikesh in the season. And he's all for sudden enlightenment, just like we were talking about, just understanding that you're not the body, they're mind. He says, I'm not going to, he does have an ashram in Portugal, but he said, I'm not going to tell you you have to meditate for 100 years or what, you know, just understand, you know. So he appeals to a lot of people. I've seen
Did
people
you
just
see
become-
Papaji in Lucknow?
He was with Papaji, that's right, yeah.
Did you check him out too, Papaji?
No, I was with Osho, who was Bhagwan.
In Oregon?
For years. I was with him in Pune. I never did go to Oregon. I'm happy about that because yeah. I know too many people that I knew in Pune that went to Oregon and pretty much fell apart there. But yeah, I've gotten hugs from Muji as well. When he's on his way out, he gives hugs to people. And I was standing behind. I was just wanting to look at him one time, and he went through the other people and gave me a hug. So that was a surprise, and that was nice. So, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Wow, it sounds amazing, your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been amazing being in India and being present in some of these places. Yeah. What's nice is to be with the people who are there, because there's community, you know, and this is what I miss when I'm here, especially during COVID, you know. But yeah, you don't know your neighbors here. When you're in India and you're just a tourist, or if you're there in the community, you talk to everybody, you know. You go and have lunch and other people sit with you, and it's a community, and you're all looking for the same thing. There's a lot of yoga, which I'm not into, but there are people who are a lot into yoga and a lot into the satsangs, and so everybody's pretty happy too, because they're on a
Well, it's like
positive
what we're doing here.
path. Exactly.
This
Exactly.
Zoom is no different than you know, being
Right.
with
Yeah.
Lukey.
I spoke
Yeah.
I spoke to some people in Guatemala when I was in the Navy. It was in the most bizarre place. We're going over the hills, and right at the peak of the hill, there's this little village. They hand out little fruit drinks and stuff because they lived right out of the jungle, you know. And these people, they were the happiest bunch of people you ever want to see. The kids were all, they had nothing. They lived in the jungle literally, and
Yeah.
they're coming out to give us fruit drinks and stuff, and just smiling and happy. And one guy spoke perfect English, and he was dressed in leaves and all this other kind of thing. And I was like, "Where'd you learn how to speak English?" And he said, "I went to America." He said, "I heard, being by the road, you hear all these stories, so I figured I got on the bus and took a boat to Los Angeles." And he said, I said, "How did you like it?" And he said, I worked 3 jobs for 3 years, and I never met my neighbors. And I got a car, and I was moving up, and I was just all the time working and to pay for these bills, and I didn't, I never said hi to my neighbors ever. And he said, it was just, I realized one day, he goes, I don't know. He says it was about 3 years in, I realized I could keep going, but he said, "You know what? I'm
Why?
going back to the jungle." And he said, I came back. He said, "It's not for me, So, it was nice to have a car. It was nice to, but he goes, all I did was drive back and forth to different jobs,
Right.
and to never get to know anybody, to never, nobody really wanted to speak to you. Nobody wanted to know you." And he said, I missed the village. So yeah, I was really, that was one of a few people I've met in my travels that had been to America and said basically the same thing. The lack of community, we have, our families are spread all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain aspects of that I can understand.
Yeah. I know the conversations, well, like Walter said, it's like here, you can have conversations about something. It's not just the weather or, so when I'm with these people, we're very close because we have our focus on the same thing. And so that helps a lot. And of course, there are, like you were saying, you can't trust everybody, because I had several gurus that I really trusted, and it turned out that no, I could not trust them anymore to know the truth, really. So yeah.
Wow, really? I've never been in that situation. What is that like? I mean, how does a guru get you to that spot where they were?
Well, the last one, who I was with for 5 years, and a very powerful man, he was Indian, but lives in Germany. He was much more German than Indian, though he looked Indian. And we had a Zoom, and he asked me how I was doing. And I said, well, it's very difficult here right now in the States, because 90,000 people have died of COVID. This was years before 500,000 died. This was 90,000 have died, including my cousin who died on Friday.
Wow.
I'm talking to this man on Monday, and he said, "You don't know that. You can't believe everything you read in the paper. These people might have died from..." This is my cousin. This is someone who's my age, who I've been friends with for so long. And, I do know that. I do know what she died of, I mean, her sisters were there, and they couldn't go in there, but they talked to her on the phone, and they talked to the people. Anyway, then that wasn't bad enough, but he was talking about Osho. We've talked about this before. And he said he likened him to a man like Jesus. And it was like, oh my God, I could take the insult about my cousin, but not that. You know, it was like, oh my God, you know, what a terrible thing to do, to liken this terrible so-called guru to Jesus. That was it for me.
Yeah, that's I can't see any correlation at all.
No, none.
I mean, I don't get that at all.
Oh no.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
I can see that. That happens a lot. You know, I'll be interacting with somebody, and then all of a sudden, out comes this. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna say, but sometimes like QAnon stuff and
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
radical.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna
Shocking.
get political on Howard's thing, but
No. I
but
know.
just those types. What you're saying that you know it's a hoax, and but you're trying to tell them about someone in your family, and they're telling you it's so insensitive. And anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's sort of a deal breaker for me if you're going to start getting into that conspiracy theories and stuff.
Yeah, I had a girl the other day, a beautiful lady. I love her. She's, lovely person, and most importantly, she likes me for some reason. No, she's really nice to me, and I mean, we've known each other for months now, and I try to, she's going through a lot of stuff, and we're trying to, just being friends, and yeah, she hit me with some Trump stuff. I mean, just yesterday, I blew my mind. She said something akin to, Trump not only is still a legitimate president, but he was chosen by God to put America
Oh
back
my
on.
God.
And I
Oh,
was like, oh God, no. And I started laughing. I thought she was kidding, and I was like, yeah, yeah. Jesus was a National Socialist, and she said no, no, and she got into that whole thing, and I know exactly what you mean. It's just this is kind of like I honestly I don't get it, I don't I don't understand it at all, and I'm with you, Walter. And Kokila, I think it's kind of I would like to say I can rise above that, but there's always going to be something there about the way I perceive the way you process information. From that point forward, anybody that says, Trump was chosen by God to make America great again, I'm not gonna forget that. I mean, it's
No,
like,
you can't put that aside.
yeah,
No,
this is
no, no.
it's one of those things where like and to have it, I've had that happen with gurus as well, or like teachers that are full on right wing, and I was totally oblivious to it, and the
Oh
next thing
yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
the next thing I know, they're spouting off this right wing rhetoric, and I'm like, wait a minute, and then I challenged one guy. I said, well, that for one, we're speaking about non-duality, and I was kind of brought here under the guise that there really are no sides at all, and now you're saying you pick a side, and you're denigrating another side, and then when I say, well, that's not necessarily so, you say you think it's funny what people believe in, and then you don't want to talk about it. I'm sorry, that's not what I'm here for. You know what I mean? I'm not, I'm not a leftist, but at the same time, I'm not a Republican, so that's, yeah. To say
I
that Trump
know.
is still, the president.
Yeah.
Anybody says that to me, I'm pretty much out at that point.
I know. Actually, I feel sorry for these people. I said this to somebody the other day, and they were like, "No, these people are nuts," and and it's like they are crazy, but that's why I feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
I really feel sorry for any of these people because they're so deluded,
Mhm.
they're so uneducated,
Mm.
and
There's so many of them.
influenced by what?
There's so many of them.
There's a lot of them. There's so many of them that it's shocking, actually, and
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking, really. But I actually pray for them. That's
It
all I
became
can do.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all I could do is feel for them, because to hate them is just adding to the hate, so there's not anything you can do. Yeah.
Oh, I don't hate them. I'm not going to engage with that. I'm especially not going to be listening to a teacher or so-called guru that is spouting this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
No, absolutely.
But believe me, I have no ill will towards anyone. It's just what's apparently happening anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all I have is this particular worldview, and there's 7 billion of them. All I can do is offer or share what's seen here, or what's interpreted here, or how things, are viewed here. I try to always preface everything like that, say in my humble opinion or in my view.
Yeah.
Because I don't claim to know ultimate truth, and I don't think there is ultimate truth. But there can be a relative sort of truth that we can discuss, but we all have our own relative truth. So I know that. So I know when someone's talking that, it's not really them.
Yeah.
There's no one. It's just what's being expressed through that particular body mind organism. And so who are you going to get mad at? And who's getting mad?
Yeah.
It really is jarring though for me, the whole concept of having a right-wing teacher. It just it threw me for a loop. I realized I was surrounded by right-wing people where I didn't even think that was relevant. And all of a sudden it's like, and then to pick a side, and then to pick that side, I was just like, wow. I looked around and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Everybody around me is right wing. I never occurred to me. I felt so foolish because it just, yeah. And then
when did that happen to you in a what kind of a group? The Zoom?
I
you don't have to be specific, but I'm just, what was the environment?
It was a couple years ago, Facebook group, a year or so ago.
Group. That happened to me too. I think it could be the same one.
Yeah. It really blew my mind. I mean, I was just like, wait a minute. I took one of the lady that owned the group, and I said, we went aside, and I asked her a couple of questions, and she was all about that. Just anti everything. I just anti-immigration. The racism and the immigration thing, and the all the whole propaganda story about COVID, and all the propaganda about that whole Trump
anti-mask, anti-vax.
Oh my God. And I was like, and I said, I asked her, I said, do me a favor, just give me the best link that you have regarding the anti-COVID thing, and let me see. And I'm almost afraid to ask you, because if you show me something that's just right-wing propaganda, I'm gonna tell you right now that it's gonna affect the way I see the way you process information. And she showed me this right-wing thing from the Kennedy Center that was completely debunked before it even came out. It was just complete right-wing propaganda. Yeah. And I looked at it and I said, this is, oh my gosh. I said, and that was it. I called it what it was, and she blocked me and kicked me out of the group. I don't, and I don't care.
Well, I have a sister She lives in Virginia now, and she also belongs to one of these born again people, churches, and I love this sister. She's beautiful, she's creative, she makes the most beautiful pottery, and she's kind and generous, and she's nuts, right?
That's that's the best kind of family. Yeah.
She's the only one in our big family of 9 kids. She's the only one that's you know, that crazy.
The
Well,
only
my-
radical I like is radical non-duality.
Yeah.
Well, my mother actually was a Trumpist. Like she like drank that Kool-Aid, and we said really early on. I just said, Mom, you know, the best thing we can do is just kind of text each other, keep each other informed of what's going on with each
Yeah.
other. But let's not do this vocal. And she agreed. Let's just not even talk about it. And we didn't. The whole time Trump was the president, we didn't speak. And I would text her and say, you know, hey, happy birthday, Mom, I love you. Da, da, da. And she'd do the same for me. But yeah, to speak would be tragic. I mean, this is going to go nowhere.
Right. No, that's
Nowhere
the only
good.
thing you can do, really, is just don't talk about that subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is prevalent. It is prevalent, though. I have to say this because you know, one of the reasons why I started I don't know, not really group was because of that right wing kind of rhetoric
Yeah.
from that other group, you know. And I just said I'm going to start my own thing, and I get a lot of people that come from these other groups, and they're like, oh my God, you know, I can't believe, you know, I was all of a sudden, you know, I was like all these right wing people talking all this crazy stuff. And you know, and I had, you know, I've been there for a lot of them, and it's not a small thing. There's a lot of these.
You have a
I mean,
Facebook group?
Yeah, I don't know, not really group.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll check it
I
out.
thought you didn't know that. Yeah, man.
No, I'm not even in it, I don't think.
Yeah, you got to get in there.
I wasn't aware.
I passed 1,000 people not too long ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's you know, I messed up, you know, actually. I was vocal about something when it came out, you know, with Zuckerberg and Facebook and all the right wing stuff. I had you know, they were saying that they were censoring people, and I could, you know, the thing is that, you know, I'm a vet, and you know, there a lot of things were going on that I didn't like, and I suddenly felt like I was being, you know, like I felt constricted. So to see where I was, I decided to say very direct things in regards to Facebook and their right wing leanings and da 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 da. And I posted it all over Facebook, and I just wanted to see what they would do. I wanted to see if they would, you know, kick me off for saying what I wanted to say. So I posted all this stuff, and then I took a nap, and I woke up like 8 hours later, and they had left it up, and that for me was enough to stay. I said, okay, if they will allow me to say these things that were pretty direct. I mean, and I called Zuckerberg out, I called Facebook out, I called the right out, and so they allowed it to stay up, and that made me comfortable. But it also, they kind of lowered my profile a little bit, so I was doing very well. And then when I did that, it kind of lulled out. But now I'm back to, you know, like I got 1,100 people in the group and all of that kind of stuff. And I have my peace of mind, you know. It's like what I said, when people ask me, how can you be on Facebook with all of this, you know, right wing stuff? And I said, well, you know, and I'll tell them, well, I said what I wanted to say, and I left it up there for, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and they left it up. So they left my stuff up as well. And so that's good enough for me. If they're gonna leave my stuff up as well as their stuff up, then that's freedom of speech. But if they were to try to censor me, then I would have had to have left. You know.
Well, that's
Well, that's
true.
cool, man. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
man.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, I thought you knew about that, man. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know you had a Facebook group. All I knew about was your regular page, your personal page, and your Zooms that you've been doing.
Yeah, no, the I've had that group going for over 2 years. And there's the rule is the rule is that you can say whatever you want. I mean that's why I kind of opened it, because everywhere I went there were all these rules, these non-duality rules, like you can't say this or you can't say that, and and everybody criticizing everybody, and I just said no, I'm gonna start a group where anybody can say whatever they want, and that's not as easy as it sounds. Sometimes it's really difficult. I mean, because some people say ridiculous things, and it just doesn't make any sense, or it's nothing that I like. But the but the point of the group is basically the freedom to express yourself as you wish, as long as you're kind. If you're a kind person, if you're not kind. I've only had to let go of maybe 8 people in 2 years, but that's just because they were kind of, they definitely they had mean intentions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
pounce on you sometimes after you post, and they immediately start picking apart every word and dissecting it, and like it's exhausting.
very much so, and I very very much so, and that's not what's going on. At least I don't think so. Coquila's been a member of the group for a while.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
I know. And I'm always, I mean, the thing is that people that make these nasty, they're always so angry. You
Yeah.
know, if I could listen maybe to another opinion, but
Right.
they're attacking. They attack you. As soon as you put something in, they'll say, well, you're just stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. You
Oh.
must listen to this. And I mean, and it's like, you always know who these people are because they're so angry and critical. You cannot talk with them. You cannot discuss things with them. They're not open to that. And Facebook, my daughter was saying, well, you're just getting, Facebook knows what you want. So you're just getting all the things that you want. You don't really know things from Facebook. And right now I have to say, well, that may be true, but they must know that I'm a progressive because I
Right.
have right now 25 different news sources and journalists that are progressive. I never
Yeah.
have to go to these other places. And I've gotten that from Facebook and YouTube.
I totally agree. They did the same thing with me, particularly. I mean, they kept trying to introduce right wing stuff to me, and I would just block it. Because I just don't even want to talk about it. I mean,
Right,
it's not even in my wheelhouse.
right.
It's not even a conversation. Where I'm not going to argue about this. So, there's literally nothing you have for me. So,
No,
um, so, but every now and again they would try, and I would just block it. But now it's like, since I did that thing last year, where I just said that's it. Yeah, I mean that's it. I'm calling this out for what it is, and I said what my piece, and I was ready to leave Facebook. I was like, that's it. I can't do this. It's beyond my conscious to have to participate in a censorship and for pro right wing stuff. I can't do this,
right.
and and that's when I just let it all out, and I put it out there, and they left it up, and that was enough to keep me there. But it also
Yeah,
showed it was also showed them that, look, I mean it. I don't want to talk to these people. I mean, I'm serious. I
right,
don't. This is not something that I want on my feed. I want nobody right wing. I want nothing right wing.
right,
Anything,
right.
yeah. Every now and again, they'll try to sneak some Fox News in on me or something. They're sneaky though, because like some of the people are sneaky because they'll do stuff like have a nature channel where it's all beautiful and something you would register with peace and nature, and somebody that would want to save to save the national parks and stuff like that. And I'll link on there because it's pretty pictures, and then you get into it and somebody will say something and you link into their thing, and they're right wing, and there's this whole right wing thing beneath the pictures. So you got to be careful. But as soon as I see anything right wing, I block. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, me either. You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just puts you in that. It really is a waste of time. It's like look,
Yeah.
and the left wing. I get a lot of left wing people that give me grief for not being involved more politically on the left, and I'll say, well, I vote. And I vote Democrat, which is kind of almost voting for Republicans 20, 30 years ago.
Exactly.
I mean, they're literally just as bad, but I mean, it's the less of two evils. And I mean, the next thing you know, people start talking about revolution and all this kind of thing, and I'm like, look, okay, and just time out, let's just calm down, even the left wing people, I have to say, hang on now, time off, I mean, I want to be, peaceful in practice, I don't want to start wanting to, tear down the right, as a way of life. It's not what I want to do. I would rather be in a good mood.
Yeah. We don't want a civil war. We don't want another civil war.
No, I don't want a war, not at all. We would find ourselves back in the same spot. We would find ourselves having to come back and talk to each other, just like before the war. I mean, the war should be the absolute last thing to
Yeah.
So yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, to have that introduced in a and I'm sorry, if I talked about it too much, but yeah, to have the please go
thing
ahead.
about it, Howard, is I never went into one of these like non-duality things and started talking about left-wing stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That stuff. I always stay very neutral in these
Exactly.
groups with it's a mixed bag. You don't know who's in there, so try to be respectful. So I don't know how it even comes up because it's not the topic at hand, But somehow this, like anti-mask, it's just worked its way in, and I'm like, yeah, man,
it's incredible.
This is not for me.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a fellow that was in I don't know, not really group, who kept trying to get me to go on his podcast or whatever. And and I'd listen to a little bit of what he said. He kept it up and kept it up and kept it up. And I'd listen to a little bit, but I never caught it, until one day somebody says, yeah, you should listen to what that guy's saying. So I go in there and I start listening to this thing. And oh my gosh, I was shocked. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Literally shocked. And he was talking about National Socialism, as far as literal Nazis, and in a non-dual context. And it blew my mind. I was, to even correlate these two things to me was beyond, mental gymnastics, or, it just doesn't make any sense at all. And so I asked the guy a couple of questions, and he immediately came off with that racist rhetoric of, like everybody's bad but white people, essentially. And I'm just like, what? I mean, literally, like, he didn't say everybody's bad but white people, but he said like European, he would say European this and European that. He was he had left America because it had gotten too mongrel and moved to Australia. And from Australia, he was doing this podcast where he was trying to save the European, however they phrase it, and European way of life or whatever. And I could not believe he had been in the group for that long, and I didn't even realize, because people can say whatever they want. I didn't, he didn't have a swastika on his, on the podcast logo. But as soon as I really listened to it, I was like, I mean, this is truly Nazi stuff. And
So is
and
your group a non-duality group, or is it really
it's
literally you can say whatever you want?
you can literally go wherever you like. There, I've got everything from Christian to the one thing I don't like is I don't like Osho, and I had to. I said, look, I'm sorry. This is a personal thing. I don't like Osho. I don't want to hear anything about Osho. And I, there's a million different sites you can go to and post all the Osho stuff you like. I, don't like Osho because I know people that got hurt there, and I just don't like him.
What
And
about Muji?
well, yeah, you can post whatever you like. Yeah, post whatever you Rupert Spirit.
But there's stuff
All of
out
it.
there about Muji as well.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard Muji's
B.
running into
Schofield.
trouble. Yeah, I heard he ran into some trouble, like something about, I don't know, something about women or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Like
it's usually something about women.
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
women and money. Women and
Yeah,
money.
I know. Well,
Uh,
I spent a lot of time with Muji, and I also know people who have gone to his ashram in Portugal. And the things that I read that were against Muji were written by the same woman, and they appeared at different times, maybe a year apart, but it was the exact same statements and things. So I don't know.
I believe the women.
yeah. Well, I think that.
Time's
Yeah.
up. Hashtag me too.
Well, there's no doubt there's truth to it, but I mean, who's to say? And if you look at anybody's life, I don't know the details of Muji's thing, but I do know that people will say a lot of stuff about JK, that there's some horrible stuff that
About who?
JK,
Jadu?
Krishnamurti, Jadu
Oh,
Krishnamurti.
J. Krishnamurti, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
they say that I've heard all kinds of just awful, horrible things. And
really?
I
I
would
never have.
well, you would be, it's like to hear him talk, you would never, I mean, you would never think it, but yeah. And I don't know if it's true, I have
Yeah.
no idea. I can't say. The man's dead now, and I mean, the more,
Right.
but for more,
Well, the solution is to get rid of gurus altogether.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
Well, you know how I feel about that. I think a good guru is a guru who wants to help you become awakened, and then leave. It's I think gurus that gather people around them and have then they're going to be in a place of power, and people are going to judge things and be heard, and so I just think a good teacher is a teacher that lets people come and go, and doesn't have this adoring crowd around him. In fact, Muji himself is like, when you become awakened, don't tell anybody. Just go about and enjoy your life. You don't need to tell anybody. So I like that, and
Yeah.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've seen one thing I loved that I saw with Muji. And I don't know much about Muji, but I did see this one thing that I loved. Some guy, he had a room full. He was speaking, he had a room full of people, nice auditorium, and here comes this guy. He just walks up and he was inviting different people to come up and sit up on the stage with him and just ask him any question they want, instead of just calling it out from the
Yeah.
audience. I thought that was really cool, to go up and sit with him
Yeah.
instead of you yell it from your row. So the guy gets up there and he just starts laughing. The Moji starts laughing, and they just started laughing, and they laughed for I don't know how long it was. I mean, and then the guy says, "Yeah, I think I get this." I thought it was beautiful. It was funny, but they were both pretty much moved to tears, and I thought that was, I could, that's something that I can relate to. But yeah, it's got to be tough for those guys sometimes. I mean, Muji, just surrounded by women from all over the world, I imagine, that have all, you have, I know personally, that the Kundalini women in particular, they equate the physical, love or love making and all of that with some kind of, connection. And I've had the Kundalini women talk to me, wanting me to get into this thing. And I'm like, I can't imagine what it's like for a guy like Muji or any of those guys, any of the real popular guys. They must have people throw themselves at them all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there's
And
gonna
I don't
be,
think we can judge either.
yeah.
How can we judge other people?
Right.
Especially like if we get our religion from the Bible and we take it at face value that this is it, and then we're judging people 2,000 years later by this, and our certain churches are teaching to do that. How can we judge other people? I don't think we can judge other people. Yeah. We don't know.
Well, yeah, I have no idea what's going on with that.
But
I
there's
do
a
know
discernment that you can, I don't know if it's judging, but you can certainly, like Howard said, he doesn't want Osho on his page.
Yeah,
That's his prerogative. It's his Facebook group.
exactly. And I agree with that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, to say you can't judge, I mean, I think we're judging all the time.
Well, yeah,
I think there's no one judging, but judging seems to be happening. This judgment about right and wrong and better, or, all these dualities.
Well, you can experience some things. That's what I mean. You can't judge unless you have some knowledge.
The experience for me, Kokila, with Osho and Walter, both of it, the experience of Osho in the group in particular. I couldn't stand Osho anyways. Everywhere I went, Osho. I was like, man, I got to get away from this stuff. And so when they started coming in the group, I realized that it's not just, that they literally are working to promote Osho, stuff. They want people to join this Osho movement because it's books, because it's trinkets, it's robes, it's beads, it's the whole 9 yards. Everything that that goes along with Osho is a business. And so I still to this day, I lost a lot of people when I argued, and some close people too, people that I like very much, left. Some of them have come back, but they know that I know that they like Osho, and they know that I don't, and we get around that, But there are a lot of the Osho people that literally, if they could not promote Osho stuff, they left. And I've had people come to me and want to challenge me with Osho's teachings. They want me to get into some kind of guru thing with Osho, and I'm like, look, you guys, with this Osho stuff, there's nothing that's going to stop you. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop the way you think and you believe. And the weirdest thing to me was, I'm telling you, this literally happened a couple of weeks ago. Lady, big Osho fan, said, let me just, ask you some questions through Osho's words or blah, blah, blah. I says, okay. So her and her friend are Osho specialists, and they start asking me these questions. And I looked at what they were saying, and it literally, I said, look, this to me looks like you're saying there is no answer, so why not believe in me and I will take you there? And they said, yes. Now you're getting it. They literally were like, they
Really?
said, yeah. I thought that they would argue with me, but they didn't. I said it as a joke almost. And they said, yes. Why? If you can't know anything anyways, follow Osho and he will get you there. You just follow him and you will feel the bliss of this and that. And I was like, wow, that's why I don't like Osho. It's the exact opposite of what I, of what I think. It's just to believe in someone else. And then I was reading some of the things that they were talking about. Osho is like a river, and that you are tributaries that add to the river, and the river will take you to the ocean. And I'm like, I mean, a lot of it was sexual, like really sexual, hardcore sexual, and very much like a top, like he was a dominant. And you just submit to Osho's will, and he will get you there because he's the conduit that can get you, that can show you truth. Literally scary, scary, scary stuff for me. That's like what do they call it? A cult. It's like a cult thing.
Yeah, exactly. I
Oh,
mean,
God.
I was at Osho's ashram for 4 years in that community. And 4 years, my baby daughter was born there. And it was wonderful because the people came to the hospital with me, and they were just allowed to be there holding candles and pillows. And it was wonderful. And I really adored Osho because, for one thing, when I first heard him, he was telling us about religion and how we had all been, and I had been brainwashed by the Catholic Church, right? And I cried the first few lectures because it was all so true, and it was very freeing for me. And then I was there, like I say, for 4 years. And then things started happening and I saw change. And like one of my best friends who was at the birth, she adored Osho. She went to Oregon with him. She was one of the top people. She worked with Sheila, who was the main woman. And she was there and she feared for her life at the end. I have to tell you, she feared for her life because they gave her a gun and they said she was Sheila's bodyguard, right? And she said, well, I came here to be enlightened. I didn't come here to kill people. I'm never going to use this gun. I'll carry it, but I'm never going to use this gun. But yeah, so I loved him a great deal, and he did a lot. And probably the other gurus who I left also helped a lot on the way. I learned from them and as much as I could until I didn't need to do that anymore but I know so many people that I knew those 4 years that went to Oregon, and it was really a terrible things that went on, terrible things, and especially with the young girls. And no, it was terrible, and it destroyed a lot of people's lives. So
yeah, I think Sheila was a horrible choice. It's not really Osho's fault in that I don't think he understood what America was like. I mean,
right.
To go into a country, any country, and just start saying things like Oregon is dead, and it just fight everything, all the local government and stuff, and try to talk about like Osho's going to take over the world and all these kind of things. You're just basically begging to be messed with,
Yeah.
And then to start having the guns and and then to bring the bums in to vote.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, and then the poisoning,
Right.
But
I mean, there were terrible things that went on, and yeah, it was terrible.
Sheila was a small lady, put in a big situation and then exacerbated by the Osho, by the Oregon thing. Now you have a small woman who's smart, intelligent, and but she's a woman, and she has, she's a small woman that has a position of power, and there is this connotation of like, I'm going to, deserve this, or I'm going to show that I can do this, and then to put her in a situation where now you're in a foreign country that is male dominated anyways, and to have to, look, it was just a bad spot. It was a bad choice for a number 2, because I think she felt kind of threatened, And I would have too. I mean, any man in that spot would have been, would have done very well to have negotiated those waters. And so to put her in there, I think with the chip on her shoulder, and rightfully so. I mean, people. I think she felt like she had to show strength, like over the top, and I don't know. I don't think I could have done any better given the circumstances that she was under, but I think Osho made a really bad mistake.
Oh, he knew everything that was going on. Yeah, they all try and blame Sheila, but it was.
Yeah.
I mean, she was terrible, and
Yeah.
anyway, and she was terrible to the workers. But there are some people that live there, that work there under terrible situations and work 16 hours a day. And they'll say that he was the best thing, and they never even saw him. He didn't even come out and talk at most of the years they were there. It was crazy. It's really a cult, as you said. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I saw the podcast or the Netflix thing where the FBI said the worst thing that Osho did was start talking when he got over his vow of silence and Sheila had left and he started talking. That opened the door for everything. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's that is kind of it reminds me a little bit of the right wing,
Yeah,
stuff.
the cult.
Yeah.
I mean, he was drugged too. He was very drugged.
Right.
He really liked that laughing gas stuff, and he was on that all the time. So yeah.
I saw a picture of him coming off the stage. He had just talked to thousands of people at the compound, and he's coming off the stage, going to the back room, and he literally can't walk. I mean, he's so hammered.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so yeah, that's my Osho thing.
Yeah.
It's I think there's a little bit of Osho in everybody, but there's very few people that would actually go that far. But yeah. So yeah, I lost a lot of people for the Osho thing, but at the same, yeah. You remember that? You remember when all of that kind of stuff came down?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was still in India when he came back to Oregon. That was not a good state to go to, for one thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was crazy. So he wrecked that community, and yeah, it was bad.
What was the thing that why did he leave India in the first place? They never really touched on he was, I know Osho was being threatened by other gurus or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of the true gurus were very upset with him, and a lot of us felt, well, that's just because
he's popular.
we're so free here, and we were free, and but there were a lot of abuses that were going on. Anyway, when he came back, this is something else I know. When he came back to India, into Pune, he changed his name. Now, he had been Bhagwan all through this other time, and he had so many court cases against him that he changed his name, and he had his people collect every book from every library and every bookstore and change the name from Bhagwan to Osho.
Right.
And that's why I really can't stay. I never knew Osho at all, but I did know Bhagwan. But yeah, so.
Oh, Sri Rajneesh.
Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, right.
Yeah.
King of the night is what that means. King of the night.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Pineville, North Carolina, right outside of Charlotte when they caught Bhagwan.
Oh yeah.
In Charlotte, and there's a bunch of t-shirts that were going around Charlotte bagged the Bhagwan and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it was big news around here. Yeah. Wow. Back then.
Oh yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. That's that is the odd that odd thing about non-duality, that there is always that element of the guru that takes advantage of the people, that his followers, the money, the sex, all of that stuff seems to follow. There's always that story is going around
right.
somewhere.
It's the same story, whether you're Indian or American or anything. Yeah, true. That's it. Well, it's like Darth Vader,
How so? How so?
Well, Darth Vader was an enlightened being, and then when they took his wife, or when she died, that was it. So he turned evil. So
Turn to
yeah.
the dark side.
And a lot of people don't know this. You don't have. It's not, if you become awake, doesn't mean that you're all loving and all good,
No.
And a lot of people believe that that's true, and you have to be really careful, because you can be evil and be awake as well. It's your choice.
I think that Osho saw that, like these two young ladies I was talking to a couple of weeks ago. There are people that literally want you to be that for them. They don't want to be enlightened, or they don't want to know, or they don't think they can, or for whatever reason, they just want to put that energy into somebody else. They want somebody else to be that object of affection for them. And it makes everything so much easier. And seeing the loyalty and the devotion of these followers to Osho to this day, I can imagine he just said, look, these people want it, I'm going to give it to them, and that's it. They're going to give me all their money, we're going to do all the sex things and all of that.
Imagine if they had, instead of projecting it onto them, realized it was true about themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's no separate existence.
Right.
So there's no difference between any of us and Osho or any of these names you want to throw out. There's no hierarchy. So that's why the ashram and the feet kissing and all that. I don't mind somebody, getting up on a stage and giving a lecture or describing non-duality. But I understand there's a need for a culture and a community and all that, but to have it around a single individual, there's something flawed about that.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And
because
what?
you have to see that person is
Sorry.
you, so to speak. There is no person and there is no you, but the nothing that's there apparently speaking is the same as the nothing that's there apparently listening.
Well, this is what happened with Jesus. Jesus was not saying to adore me that I'm God. He was saying for everyone to be like him. His message was love. And it got totally the same. It was like everybody thought, well, Jesus is the one, we'll worship him and we'll follow. Well, we don't even follow his rules. But that wasn't the whole point. I mean, Jesus wanted people to follow him by being loving and loving your neighbor as yourself. Yeah.
But I and the Father is one.
The odd thing about Jesus, though, that I've always found fascinating is the duality of that message. He wants you to love and sacrifice yourself for others, and not judge and all that kind of thing. But yet, if you don't believe in him, the message is that you burn for eternity. So
well, he never said that, though. He never said you would burn for eternity.
Did he? But
that's the church.
Did he say anything? Did Jesus actually say anything?
I think his message was love.
But how do we know that?
Well,
the story of this, the entire thing is I read the Bible. Well, I read the Bible, and
Yeah.
you know, from
It's
cover
a
to
great
cover.
work of fiction.
Yeah, I read the book.
I'd
in
rather
like
read Moby Dick.
I read that too, and that's an awesome book. That is amazing. Have you ever read Moby Dick? That is
Oh,
I was
yes.
blew my mind.
Yeah.
Not as much as the Bible blew my mind, but it blew my mind. The thing about the Bible that's really amazing, um, depending on which you know which version you read, but you know, there's just so many things that that God, for example, doesn't want humans to be independent. He doesn't want humans to progress and cooperate. He wants them to be at war, and he wants them to worship him. He wants both sides to need him, and that's what it says as far as like for example, the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, that story blows my mind because so many things about the Bible that you hear about are not what's written. It's not the way it's written. The Tower of Babel is God was supposed to have struck people down because they were cooperating and learning how to live together, and they were building this spire um, to show what people can do when they work together. They weren't going to heaven. They were uh, building a place to observe the earth around them and to find out, you know, what to do next, because everybody was cooperating. Well, God saw this and he said, well, if 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 people start cooperating, they won't need me, and they're gonna go off and do what they want. So he struck the tower down and made them speak different languages so that they would have to group into different clumps, and then they will war with each other, and they will both pray to me for my favor. And that's what the Bible says. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm not making that up. God does not want people
Wow.
to communicate. So, on top of that, um, there's so many examples of, like, you know, people say the devil made me do this and the devil made me do that, but God says I do good and evil. I alone do these things. And when you look like the book of Job is the only book where God commands the devil, or, you know, it's not the devil in the Old Testament. There is no devil, but there's say him and Lucifer are kind of friends, and they have this bet where they, you know, I bet you know, these people only love you because of the blessings that you give them. And he says, no, you can pick anybody you want and they'll love me anyways. So they end up on one guy, Job. And God tells him to kill his children and his handmaidens or whatever. And that is the only deaths in the Bible that are attributed to the devil. The 6 to 9 different people that he killed in that room that day under God's command. The devil cannot do anything without God's say so. And so everything that has been done in the history of humanity, according to the Bible, has been done by God. There is no evil force that God's fighting. That doesn't make any sense, if you know that at all. God allows, or actually maintains, evil, and the devil is responsible for 9 deaths tops, and that is on God's command. And that blew my mind as well. I was like, you know, so all of these things, you know, the things that it says in Revelations about it's just nuts. The entire
Yeah.
Bible is absolutely not at all what a church. I went to like 9 different churches or 6 different churches, trying to find somebody that was saying what I was reading, and I never did find I never did find one. But I mean, literally, Jesus, meek and mild, love, and all of that, sacrifice yourself, XYZ. He's the one that brings eternal fire, damnation.
Well, Jesus and God are not the same. They say Jesus is the only begotten son, but that's not true. If there's any sons, we're all sons. We're all, but Jesus is not necessarily God. I don't remember Jesus saying that we would all burn in hell for all eternity.
Well, yeah. Well, it's I don't know the exact passage, and maybe he did not say it specifically, but it was Peter, which would make way more sense because Peter was. Yeah, I mean, I think when Jesus said, "On this rock I will build my church," he wasn't giving Peter a compliment. He was saying that this is the liar, the cheater, the jealous little fop that he was going to betray me 3 times before the sun comes up. He's the one that I'm going to build. I mean, when the Christian church is based on this guy, whereas who is it the one that he sent Lazarus, or who was it the one that he sent for the 40 pieces of silver? He betrayed Jesus. Everybody says
Judas.
Judas was the one that actually loved Jesus. He was the one that he knew that he would be persecuted. He knew that Peter and the church and the jealous ones were going to were going to kill him, going to disembowel him. They were going to drag his name through the mud throughout eternity, but he didn't care because he loved Jesus. And Jesus knew that. That's why he sent Judas. But Peter, he made the head of the church because Peter lied. He betrayed him. He ran when Jesus was in trouble. It was so to me, he was warning about the church to come when he said that about Peter. Because Peter could not go to, for instance, Peter could not go to the secret teachings that Jesus was telling Mary Magdalene and Judas and the new disciples that would come. Jesus would go into the back room and they would have these sauna type spiritual things where incense and oils, Jesus would spread oil on the new people, and they would have these secret teaching meetings. And Peter was never, only chosen people could do that. And Peter was always jealous about that. But it's very telling that Judas was there and Mary Magdalene was there, but Peter never was. I think he was he hated Mary Magdalene. He hated women. I think he was probably gay, but he was very jealous of Judas because he was never privy to those intimate moments with Jesus. And I literally, that's the way I read it. You know, when I read it, I was like, he's basically warning everybody about the church that's going to carry his name. But that's just the story, you know.
Right.
To say that the book is insane.
Yeah.
Did you ever go see Nisargadatta when you were over there in India?
Oh, no.
No.
I think he had died when I was there. When I was talking about Werner before, the guru, that very humble, he went to see him.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was quite a character because he would just insult you. He didn't want people coming unless they were really sincere. And so Werner said, yeah, he was really tested him, you know, and he kept going back, and eventually he let him stay and talk. And he was a character, Nasser Agata.
Wasn't he from New Jersey?
He was Indian. He was a beanie maker. He just worked, and he smoked beaties. He actually died of cancer like his guru did too, because they smoked cigarettes and beaties. And he was married. He would have people come and see him at his home, and he'd just sit outside in the stump. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. I mean, I only know what I've read about him. I didn't get to meet him, but this guru did meet him and was telling stories. We were laughing about it. Yeah. So.
Well, which was the guy that was from New Jersey?
Oh, yeah, you're talking Robert Adams.
No, was it Robert Adams?
Oh, was he from New Jersey? I love Robert Adams.
Well, I thought it was the guy that wrote "I Am That."
I
That's
am that is
Nisargadatta.
Nisargadatta. Well, he didn't actually write it, but it's transcriptions of his talks.
Yeah,
But he was in Bombay or Mumbai, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. Yeah.
And that was
Right.
so.
Kitwadi Lane, 10 Kitwadi Lane, or something like that.
Huh.
He had
Nisarg-
meetings up in his attic.
And that was who? Which one was that?
Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Wow, what a handle!
I know, it took me so long to spell it, learn how to spell it. Yeah, I did read the book, I Am That. It's a big book and it's a lot, the gurus today know that they can't hold our attention that long to get that deep. So they're much more condensed, the teachings, and his really go deeply. But like Muji, he just makes it very simple, makes it very simple. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are presence. And, he does a good job of getting that across to people.
What does Muji say about consciousness?
That everything is consciousness.
Well, if you're not your mind or your brain, or if you're not your body or your mind, what's conscious?
The mind is part of consciousness. It's within consciousness. Also, your body and your mind are within consciousness. Everything is within consciousness. Consciousness is present, and it's present within you. Your awareness is what, and the mind is what can help you know who you are, which is, as you say, nothing, which is really nothing except awareness in the present moment. That's basically what his teaching is. Yeah.
I wish I could know what he meant by consciousness. I mean, I just don't understand
Well,
how that works.
A lot of them
It's
say
the
you can
sense
say
of
the universe.
being.
Pardon?
The sense of being.
Being. Yeah,
That's usually what's meant by consciousness, is a sense of being,
exactly.
a sense of I am, a sense of presence.
I am is it. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it would mean to say everything is that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, oh, please go ahead.
There's energy, right? So they say I am, or consciousness, or the universe, or energy. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way to say it. There's no way to say. So you could pick any word, and I've got some people that are, I guess, get annoyed with me because of my, because I say it's not consciousness, and they'll say, well, it's just a word. And I was like, well, yeah, but backgammon's a word too, and so it's tetherball and tennis. The just I just the connotation of consciousness to me is that there is something that can be aware, and then something that can be aware of, and that is duplicitous. And for me, consciousness is the illusion of separation, that there is somebody aware of something, and so that's kind of why I try not to say consciousness. Consciousness, to say that there's no mind or body, but everything is consciousness, I mean, for me, as far as vocabulary is concerned, it doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
And it basically points to separation and the illusion of an individual. and then says it's not that. So, that's why, my whole, I mean, I'm not really welcome in a lot of places. I think that was another reason why I left so many groups, is because I would try to explain what I mean by, there is no consciousness. And people like, I can't even, they wouldn't even post what I wrote, they wouldn't even, they're like, I say, consciousness does not exist. Let's talk about it. And I would post it. And the guy that does Buddha at the gas pump, I was invited to his, Rick Archer. I was invited to his thing. And I rarely ever join a new non-dual group. And when I do, when I feel like it, I will express myself as I see it. And a lot of times, that they won't even post what I say. And like, just to even question consciousness as everything is not acceptable. And I know that that's not a place I want to go. So I had to leave Rick Archer, because they wouldn't even post what I said. And I said, well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time dealing with that. And I've heard Rick Archer as well. He's got a pretty interesting, conglomeration of a Jesus, a biblical kind of non-duality thing going on. But I think he's got a big thing with consciousness. And it wasn't him that negated my post, but whoever is his
Administrator.
administrator wouldn't even talk to me. I asked, well, why why did you reject that? And they wouldn't even talk to me about it. So I just said, I'm out of here. And then I did the same thing with Robert Saltzman's page. I got invited to Saltzman's page, and I introduced myself by saying existence does and does not exist, and consciousness does not exist. And 2 different posts. And Saltzman tore into me like, oh my God, he came after me. He had his little sycophants came at me pretty hardcore. It was a good one.
That just happened to me.
Yeah, that got heated.
That happened to me with him. Yeah, you know what he did? So he posts a video. And in the video, he says something basically like, I don't understand the jargon. I never got that far with Jim Newman, etc.
Yeah.
So I say, I can explain the jargon to you.
Yeah.
But
Who
I
are we
said, if
talking
you,
about? Who? What's the name of the person you're talking about?
Robert Saltzman,
Okay, I don't know.
he wrote the
Yeah.
10,000 things. So I say, but if you're going to understand the jargon, you really have to be crystal clear on a couple things. Number one is that there's no separate existence.
Mhm.
There are no individuals with free will. I summed it up more or less. And then he just kind of went after me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fine. I apologize. I said, if I came off being arrogant, I was, you said you didn't understand something, and I was trying to sort of give some bullet points of some of the concepts.
Hello there.
Summarize it a little bit.
No visit, yay!
So
No, I can watch him.
he then edits this conversation, reposts it.
Come here.
Sorry.
Come here. Come up. Come up here. Okay, I'm gonna have to go.
Oh no.
Oh, well, it was
I've got
nice
a
seeing
little
you.
visitor now.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh, wow. Hey.
Kokila, thank you so much for stopping by.
Well,
I
this has
really
been
appreciate
So
great.
nice to see you.
And really nice, Walter. I like your saying being and I am. I think that says it better than consciousness. I like that a lot.
No, I actually don't say that, but I was just trying to
Oh.
explain what I think. No, I was trying to define consciousness maybe in a way that we could
I can have it.
discuss it.
Okay. Well,
Thanks,
nice to meet
Kokila.
you. This
Well,
has been
thank you.
great, and I'll see you again. This is
I
I hope so.
Howard. Love
Thank you. Love you
Bye
too,
now.
babe.
Wonderful
Bye-bye.
conversation. Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's Saltzman. Tell me
Oh,
about
so
this.
he reposts it without the video. So now it's completely out of context. So it seems
Right.
like now I just kind of went after him for no reason.
Right.
And it just then his minions. So now this is not no longer the original post. Now this is he reposts it in a new form, and now people go after me. And somebody was like, "Wow, Robert really eviscerated that guy," and they're saying shit like that, and like, "Oh, I hope he's
Right.
okay." Like he tore me, basically saying he tore me a new asshole or something.
Right.
And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
I said, "I
Is
didn't
it-
feel that way. I didn't feel like he ripped me apart." You know,
Get this, man. So I
they
go in
think
there,
I'm upset. I mean, give me a break.
dude. They did the same thing to me. They did the same thing to me. Get this. I go in there and I do my thing. You know, existence does not exist, and consciousness does not exist. The sycophants come at me, and immediately they're just. I mean, they're just coming from, and you know, it's just wrong. You know, so I'm like, well, this is why it's wrong. And then you know, I'm trying to explain to them. Then Robert Saltzman comes in. This is after I've been invited to the group, mind you. You know, so Saltzman comes in, and I start explaining to him, you know, this is what I mean. And he, you know, said, no, all you can know is that this is here now. And I was like, yeah, but you can't know that. And this is why. And no matter what I said, he just, you know, he would try to, you know, he'd try to, well, I've been doing this for 40 years, read my books and all this other kind of stuff. And I was like, dude, I've read your books and they're shit. So we got into it. There was somebody that came onto my message thing while I was talking to Saltzman, and they said, oh, you know, here's all these, you know, they had all these little clips of Saltzman and how, you know, saying ridiculous things. And I just, for kicks, I laughed and I pressed follow. You know, they said, hey, check this out, you know. So I followed. And he said, oh, I see that you have an anti-Saltzman thing. You're just a troll. And he literally set me up to make it look like I was like coming after Saltzman in some kind of negative way. And dude, same thing, man. The way I see the way you're saying it, they set it up to make it look like something it wasn't. And I was like, no. And
so bad.
It was just insane. It was insane. It was insane.
And it's funny, you and I have had the same run-ins with the same people. You didn't even have to say the names. There's
Right.
two major players in that group you were talking about. One's a man, one's a woman.
Yeah.
And they're both, yeah.
Kiss the ring.
Yeah, everyone quotes them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, give me a break. I am not bowing at the altar of these people.
Absolutely not.
Fuck that.
Yeah, the weirdest thing about that group is that was probably the very first non-duality group I ever joined. And I didn't even know what non-duality meant. You know, I mean, I didn't even know what it meant. But when they explained it, I said, oh, yes, I get that. And, you know, okay, yeah, not two. So I start writing my stuff. And granted, in the beginning, you know, it was a little rough getting out of the gate, but, you know, trying to express that in particular. But I said, but it was weird. It was like they would say something and use phrases like I, they, he, she, we, you know, things like that, and within their phrasing. And I would say, yeah, that's beautiful, you know, and let go the obvious contradictions, you know, and say, I see what you're trying to say, you know. But when I would put something up there, I would just get attacked by everybody. Oh, there's no he, there's no you, there's no this. I'm like, yeah, but I have to use language, you know. And I was just amazed at how readily everybody was just, I mean, it's almost cultivated in that, you know, to you know, rip each other's shit apart. It was ridiculous. Yeah. I just said, you know, and then when I saw the right wing thing, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's it. I'm out. I'm out.
That's hilarious. And the same people. You and I have had the same issues with the same people.
Yeah.
That's
hilarious. It's funny. Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, you know, that I do get a lot of runoff from that group into my group. Like people are just like shocked that, they're shell shocked and they leave. They're like, holy crap, there's like a right wing non-duality group over there. And I'm like, yeah, I know them very well.
Yeah.
And it's weird though. People don't, with my group, there are with, I don't know, not really group. The funniest thing is, it is so wide ranging, that some people want more specific stuff. And I just like the fact, I just like people just to be free. Just say
It's the
what
Wild West.
yeah, say whatever you want. I'm not an anarchist. I don't want, I said, as long, the initial claim there is, look, as long as you're kind, you're free to say whatever you like.
Yeah, no
just
hate
don't,
speech.
yeah, don't be an asshole,
Yeah,
yeah,
keep it
but
simple. No, don't be an asshole, right?
yeah.
Is there a lot of so does there end up being a lot of so-called non-duality shared, or is it really
Yeah.
all over the place? Yeah.
No, I get a lot of stuff. I got there's everything from the old school spiritual Advaita types to even Christians to you get the Sufis, you get but you get non-dualists, pure hardcore non-dualism. I've got there's a couple of people that have been posting with me for a while that I love. I mean, love, and they do so much better on other groups. There's just like a far bigger audience, but they always post with me too, which is nice.
Cool.
It is, yeah. So they only get like a few people, but they realize it's like, there's, the people that are here that are reading your stuff care. It's I'm actually reading what you're saying, and there's a lot of I don't get a lot of like quotes, people that quote these different I mean, you can do it. I have no problem as long as it's not Osho. And
no, I won't
mean,
be sharing him. I just share myself. I make my own little videos and I share them because, like I said, once I start writing, I just feel like in the moment, if I feel inspired, I flip on my phone, I just say a couple things, and then I put it out there.
Oh man, I'd be honored, man. That'd be awesome. I'd be honored. I definitely. My thing is, I prefer. I mean, I like people to to express themselves however they like, because ultimately, eventually, we could talk about non-duality or whatever they want to talk about. But I definitely welcome all non-dualists as long as you don't have as long as you don't have a swastika in your pocket.
No, definitely not. Well, first of all, yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons why that would not be true, but I won't go into all of them. I don't have to explain myself, but
it's I mean, are you Jewish?
Well, I'm my mother's side of the family is Jewish. My wife is Jewish. Many of the people I love the most in my family are gay, and I just I'm just surrounded by with a variety of people from a variety of LGBTQ and everything else, and I can't see hating somebody.
Well, dude, if you're voting, with the Klan, there's something generally wrong. I mean, when you're on the same side with the Klan, you gotta say, wait a minute here. Hey, can you give me a minute?
Diversity, I think, was the word I was looking for. I've always been immersed in diversity. Growing up, I was a minority in my school, believe it or not, when I was a kid.
Hold that thought.
So,
can you hold that thought for 1 second?
Sure.
That thought. Just give me 1 minute. Oh God, I gotta. Oh, geez. Oh man, you're gonna get to see how I walk. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh, it was completely ridiculous. Something like, uh,
Are you gonna are you gonna edit this up?
here, here. You there, bro?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that, man. I forgot my headphones were on, dude.
Oh, that's all right. All I heard you say was that's completely ridiculous. I didn't know what you were talking about, or it was completely ridiculous.
No, the way I walk.
Oh, that's what you're saying is completely. I couldn't actually see the way you walk,
Oh,
but
so you
I
were
could
talking.
hear how painful it was.
Oh man, it's not fun, dude. That's yeah, that's like, walk 10, 15 feet and sit, and then walk 10, 15 feet back. I'm cooked. I can't even.
You
Takes
do
me a minute to
use a
get.
wheelchair?
I do when it's not really feasible down here. It's I still just kind of hold on to walls and stuff like that as I go. But yeah, it's tough, man. But at the same time, it is what it is. I don't have to wake up every morning and talk to a boss either, so I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah.
So we were talking. Weren't you talking about Saltzman?
No, actually, I think we wrapped up the Saltzman
Yeah.
portion. We were just talking about basically. I was just saying how just the way I was raised, and my mother's gay, so I was raised in the house, with that, and I saw a lot of. I dealt with some prejudice, like people sort of asking me like about my mother and stuff when I was little, and I could see that
Prejudice.
I could see the judgment, and then because my friends were African American and Latino, um, and they would, I knew that there was a lot of racism coming from white people because they would even ask me like, "Are you racist?"
Right.
I don't even know what that is, like, but they knew it was a thing, and so I was learning, fortunately, from people that knew more about it than me.
Yeah.
And I was so anyway, I'm grateful for my exposure and being, like I said, immersed.
That's that's
So,
how that's how it was
so I
for
never
me, man.
felt separate from people because of uh, uh, sexuality or skin color or religious preferences or anything.
Yeah, that's how it was for me. Well, I grew up in L.A. and I mean I was just surrounded my best friend. One was a Samoan, one was a Mexican, one was an El Salvadorian, another was a
Mhm.
black. I mean, we all just, I mean, there was no, it didn't have anything to do with race. At that point, we were still in elementary school, and
Yeah.
but yeah, it was, my parents were all about, everybody being together and all of that. So when I came to North Carolina, man, I was shocked. It shocked me bad because there was busing and, blacks versus whites in a big way.
Hmm.
And not that
Yeah.
it's, I mean, California is one of the most, I mean, historically racist country or states in the union. I mean, they have horrible, you know, race laws throughout history. They were worse than a lot of the southern states. So California, has been about keeping the minorities down for a long time. Which it just blew my mind. I mean, because when I went to school, everybody went to school together, and I saw no, I traveled a lot when I was young, and it just never occurred to me, that intelligent people could be racist, you know, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
I
It's a good
I
way to
came
put
to
it.
yeah, and I came to North Carolina, and it blew my mind. I was shocked. A lot of people, very smart people, are extremely racist and bigoted and all kinds of things. And it the whole busing system here
Mhm.
just blew my mind. I could not wrap my mind around it because we went to school where you live. You live here, you go to school across the street. It just so
Yeah.
happened that but here now everybody had to be bussed to make it equal and da 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 da. But yeah, it was a shock. I don't know. Yeah, I when I moved to Mooresville, North Carolina from Charlotte, I opened my own business outside of the city, and for years I was like right next to downtown. I mean, every walk of life imaginable came into my store that I managed for years. I knew them all. I knew everybody in the neighborhood. I mean, thousands of people a day. I knew exactly what they would eat. Yeah, I knew exactly what people ate. Down to easy salt, extra pepper kind of thing. But when I got my own business, um, it was a great business. It was gangbusters right away, but it was in the middle of like full on cracker country. I mean, KKK, bigoted cops, that whole 9 yards. Where even if you were somebody that was tolerant of black people, they looked down on you. It's one of the places where if the first thing they ask you is what church do you go to, that kind of thing.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't ask you, they just which church do you go to? It's like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that went over like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't make sense, especially in the context of non-duality, which surprises me that it exists um, in non-duality because, I mean, the isn't the whole point non-duality, not two? So there is no other.
I
Who's the other that you're hating and projecting all this? You know,
and isn't it just a
it's this
part of
otherness is the problem.
yeah, I mean it's just I mean that is the ultimate view of separation, to think that you are separate from immigrants or people from different nationalities, races, creeds, colors. All of that stuff is just coming out of nothing, and just in this immediate experience, how can you be prejudiced against it? It doesn't make any sense to me at all, you know.
I mean, it's just like we were saying before, this mystery expressing itself
Yeah.
as
That
a white person or a black person
right.
or an
Yeah.
Asian person. It's it's just
It's truly amazing.
there's no separation. So how can you?
And yet that's the thing. And there it is. We, you know, there's always the talk of God and Jesus. There's always the talk of racism and
Mhm.
national socialism and, you know, bigotry, anti-gay, anti-woman. And, you know, it's the most bizarre thing that here we are, you know, in this apparent here and now, having this conversation. Um, and what is it that we have on our, you know, what is it on the plate? um you know, but it's not actual, as in, you know, I mean, we're talking about it now, but it's not actual within our immediate experience. We are talking about things that, you know, appear to exist. um
Mhm.
and that is what is. It's so incredible, you
Yeah,
know.
but I guess racism is a part of what is too.
Yeah,
It's just what's apparently happening, and
right.
you know.
Well, it's kind of like I talked to this lady the other day, a rape victim, and she was, you know, saying that, you know, rape exists. And I said, well, not really. And she said, well, how do you mean? And I said, well, are you being raped right now? I mean, are you being raped? And she says, no. And I said, well, then rape exists within the context of the story of rape, but it doesn't exist as an actuality. Nobody's being raped. So it exists as a memory, you know, that you have within the conceptual self, but nobody is being raped right now. Same with the racism thing or with anything else. That is the story of of people in time and space going through, you know, navigating separation. But that is not
How did the
what
person take that? By the way, that sounds a
she,
little
yeah,
radical.
I was scared to say it because,
Yeah.
you know, she had been brutally raped as a child.
Oh,
And
God.
yeah, and she said I had, well, she was a non-dualist. I mean, she's
Okay.
somebody that I respect. She, you know, she knew, you know, what I meant.
She
And
knew where you're coming from. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah, I wasn't
That's
gonna just
good. You
throw that.
didn't just
Yeah,
spring that
no,
on somebody.
no, 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 that's not exactly a great way to introduce yourself. Well, you weren't raped, you know. No.
Yeah,
None of that's
nothing
real,
ever
you know.
happened.
So, you know, and so she, but no, she stopped and she said, um, uh, she was like, damn, I hadn't thought of that. I said, yeah, the story of you consists of this rape victim that will just, you know, same as, you know, our stories of childhood, your stories of having the lesbian parents that, you know, brought all that heat or whatever that is. And that whole aspect or vantage point of growing up in America with gay parents. I mean, it's not an easy thing, but it is the story of that. And it didn't, you know, it's not actually happening. It's the appearance of that within the context of a history. Myself, I lost my dad very early. You know, there's a lot of things that I can, you know, say about that. It was like, you know, um, this kind of, you know, and it's like, yeah, but that's not actual. It didn't, you know, that's not really what happened. What appears to have happened is I, you know, lost my father abruptly, and then watch him die slow. And you know, but that's not something, you know, that I can, that it's not real. Although at the
Mhm.
same time, it is the story of what appears to be me. So, you know, she said the same thing. She was like, yeah, you know, it's so weird because, you know, all my life I've carried this thing with me, and even through non-duality, like all I can think about is, you know, how can this happen, or what does this mean, why is that in my experience? And it's like, well, that's the thing, it's not an experience, not yours, and it never happened. It is the story of those things culminating in this immediate experience. And she was like, damn, said that she actually liked it. We've been best friends ever since, actually, or not best friends, but really close friends ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a great girl.
Well,
Wow. Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, but you got to be careful what you say to people. You don't want to go around telling people,
No.
that thing that tore you apart, from the time you were a child to now. Oh, that's not real. It never happened.
So what if they say, well, what about, when let's say I say something happened to me 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, did that thing really happen?
It appears to have, yeah.
Or is it just a memory in here that, like how do you explain that to somebody?
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. It did, in that you are here now, carrying that memory. All right, you're carrying that terrible thing, right, and that has affected the way you have become yourself as you appear in this moment. Okay, that it happened in this linear succession of events and culminated into what appears before us today in the form of Walter. But but Walter is the story of an individual in time and space. That is the brutality, along with the beauty of just this, that it does exist as an appearance in a memory of a subjective individual in time and space. And I say subjective, that sounds cold, but as the appearance of an individual in time and space that experienced this horrible thing. And that's what makes us, appear to be what we are, going through navigating these great things and bad things. But within this immediate experience right now, as I lay here, I am not, I am not I'm not that guy that was 10 minutes ago, struggling to get to the bathroom. That right. Doesn't exist. That, the dread of me having to move again, is a part of what appears to be this conceptual Howard. But the conceptual Howard doesn't exist as he appears. He exists as the appearance of time and space, as an individual navigating a past and a future. But it has nothing to do with, that is just the story of what is. The funny thing about it is, once you can let go of that, the story becomes just, it's, once you can see it for what it is, it's not actual. I can't even know, if a memory exists at all. I mean, that I think, or that I, have experienced these things, or am I going through this at this moment, has nothing to do with actuality. That has to do with the subjective nature of feelings, emotions, physical pain, mental, psychological pain. All of that has to do with the culmination of what appears to be a person here and now. But we as individuals don't exist as we appear. So it is true in that a story exists involving that kind of torture, agony, pain, suffering. But it is not true in that it's not happening right here. Only within the context of a subjective memory does any of that occur. So,
and even when it was happening or appearing to happen, let's say you getting up to go to the bathroom, there was no Howard getting up to go to the bathroom. Getting up to going to the bathroom was apparently happening. It seemed to be happening, but to no one.
Yeah.
Like you didn't choose to get up and go. That feeling of having to go appeared then the urge and desire and need to get up appeared. That action seemed to have happened. I mean, that's the way I sort of, those are the words that come to my mind when I try to explain things like that. I'm just like, it makes sense to first start with the here and now. Like, this isn't actually happening.
Right.
So then it's really easy to say, well, if, so nothing ever happened.
Right.
Because if this didn't happen, if this isn't happening, I'm not speaking. And people think that's cliche. I think it's the most beautiful thing ever. I mean, I don't know anything. See, some of those conversations, like this is my favorite thing to talk about, just because I feel like we're just in it.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, I love it. I can do it all day.
But it feels alive. There's an aliveness to it.
It's to me, it's like this might be cliche as well, but for me, it's like a rosebud. And I know that a lot of people have used it before, but it literally every moment feels like a rosebud just kind of blooming. And and the reason why I use it is there's no cause or effect for that, and nobody ever sees it, and nobody ever I have a saying that I like to use: nobody's ever seen a lotus blossom. And Zen guy gets it. It's like the beautiful thing about the blossom of the lotus is that there is nobody there to see it. It's just happened, and or it appears to happen, and it's the same way with every moment. It is a rose blooming. It is, for me, I don't know why it's easy for me to imagine every moment blossoming and blooming from like a little tight bud just opening up into this flower.
Yeah,
every moment,
constantly opening,
constantly
fresh,
it's
new,
blooming every moment. Every moment is just blooming, and there's no, I maybe that's I could kind of look at a rosebud and see it for not having a mechanism to it. Any scientist will say, well, the rosebud blooms because of X, Y, and Z. No, it just blooms. That's it. The appearance of, as you said, grass growing, and all of that. So the appearance of people being people, doing people things, thinking. As soon as you realize that nobody's thinking, nobody's actually doing anything, then it just opens, it just blooms. This dance just happens.
I like everywhere. The Zen guys too. Those old koans, yeah. The frog. What is this? A frog jumps in the water, plop, or something like that.
I love the one about the guy that I don't know if I said this one to you last week, but the guy comes out into an opening into a field, and there's this huge koa tree. The tree, and he looks up, and there's a guy biting a branch with his arms and legs tied behind his back. So he's sitting there holding himself up by his teeth, 200 feet up in the air. And a monk comes around the trunk of the tree, and he yells up to the guy biting the limb, "What's the one word you could say right now that will save your life?" And that's the koan. And I love this. I love that, because basically what it means to me is all of this talk is ridiculous. It means nothing. There is nothing that we can say or do to realize anything that's going to stop. There's nothing the guy can say that's going to save his life. There's nothing that we can say to actually articulate what we mean. And so the guy, for one, if he tries to utter anything, he's going to let go of the branch, so he's going to die. There's nothing that he can say. And so nothing that we can say. Also, the monk thing is funny. The smart ass monk that comes around from the back of the tree and just says, what's the one thing that you could say to save your life? The Zen monk saying that is perfect, because they don't say much. They're just quiet. And also the fact that you just come across the opening and this scene has already appeared. It's much like life, where you
Oh,
just
yeah.
kind of one day you just hear.
There's
You
just
know,
no
you kinda-
explanation why he's there.
you're sitting here holding on to the branch, and somebody's some smart ass is saying what's the truth, but that, I mean, that could mean any number of things. But yeah, I like Zen. I like the Book of the Way as well.
The Book
Lao
of the
Tzu.
Way.
The Book of the Way, Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tao Te Ching.
yeah, Tao Te Ching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it says in the beginning that something to the effect of it can't be spoken. It can't be put into words.
No, it can. Yeah. Yeah. What is it?
The Tao that
Tao.
can be spoken is not the
Yeah,
true
right.
Tao.
Right. There it is.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. I
And
love this
that
stuff.
is, but he didn't stop there.
Yeah. I've got I've got my favorite audio book of that definitely ready at all times.
Oh, do you like, The Great Way?
What's that one?
That's the Zen Patriarch. What is it, the fifth, sixth? I don't know. The Great Perfection. I don't know exactly how it goes, but you'll have to look it up. There's a version that Ram Dass reads on the YouTubes, but or you can read it. It's Hin Sing Ming, something like that. Hin Sing Ming. You ever hear that name?
I think I've heard of his name. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the Great Way. It's like without preferences and all. It talks about all these things, but it just seems like they're describing just this,
Yeah.
But or you could say presence. I wouldn't say presence awareness, all that, but I could see how it could easily be translated to that.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about, it doesn't have preferences, it doesn't have attributes, it doesn't have, qualities of any kind.
It's amazing. It's truly amazing in that you cannot, there is no word for it. There is no word for this. Yeah. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. And all those cats were describing it in different beautiful ways, poetic ways. But yeah, you get a sense for it when you read those.
Yeah.
You could just feel it, like, oh yeah, it's just like the frog plop. That whole. It's like,
yeah,
it's so simple, but that's it's the appearance of a frog jumping in the water and the sound. It's not water and it's not a splash, but
right.
it's literally just the sound you hear. It's
beautiful.
It's all anything. It's what's arising. The sounds are. I hear a fan in the background. I see. It's like, I don't know.
It's so incredible. That's it. I mean, in that, there's no need to make it anything that it's not. And with the lack of self, realizing that it's not me thinking, and it's not, I'm not doing anything, and just realizing that I am just a part of what appears to be this here and now. It's truly fascinating. There's no way, I had a guy ask me the other day if how do you deal with boredom? And I told him I don't get bored, you know. I mean, I don't, and that's a hard thing for a lot of people. You know, people are like, oh, it's so bad. You're in bed all the time and this and that. And I'm like, well, you know, I've worked my ass off my whole life. You know, the only difference is now I get to talk without having to work. It's actually a beautiful thing. I hate to say it, but I swear, I literally, you know, it doesn't. You know, when you look at everything within the immediate experience as it is simply blooming from nothing to nowhere, I could be fascinated by anything, literally anything. And to think, I mean, to look, I did this the other day with a friend of mine, Kim McCluskey. We were just talking about just simple objects that can hold your attention. And I said, and I told him, I said, man, I looked at this bottle cap for like 6 hours. And, you know, just throughout the entire day, I would, you know, this bottle cap had sat on this place. I don't know how long. For some reason, it got my attention. And one day, and I just started looking at this bottle cap, and it's almost like, you know, the thing about, you know, somebody's tripping on acid, you know, they could look in the ashtray and say, this is God. And you go, and you know, what they mean is that everything is God, and God is in this ashtray, you know. Same, it's kind of the same thing. The bottle cap blooms out of nowhere and nothing, and is sitting there on that table. And, you know, it just captivated me for some reason. To just think of everything that had to do with the nature of that bottle cap and how it ended up sitting on my table, and for me to just sit there and look at it, of all the things I could look at, for some reason that bottle cap kept me busy for hours. And I don't know how, I don't know why, it just did. And it just blew my mind. Getting a glass of water. People say, you know, something as mundane as getting a glass of water. If you really think about everything involved with getting a glass of water and drinking it, it's a very Zen thing, but it's amazing. It is truly amazing. You know, everything involved with chopping wood and carrying water. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's those old sayings, you know, like mountains become mountains again, and chopping wood, carrying water, and the this is also cliche, but the extraordinariness of the ordinariness, you know.
Yeah.
The mind-blowing nature of a table. Oh, you know, Tony Parsons talked about the carpeting, however he says that. He just saw it, and it was just being itself, you know. And it's just like, wow.
Well, yeah, just like that. The chair is chairing. The cap, the bottle cap was bottle capping. You know,
you can think about the bottle cap, or you could even think about Howard and say Howard is Howarding.
Howard is Howarding. Yeah. Well, when I lost it on those people with the thing Kokila was talking about, the bed, or I think we were talking about the bed. You know, I lost it on those people. I got really pissed, and yeah, I mean, it got to a point where I was livid, and I wrote that story and put it out there, and I was just like, you know, is this something an enlightened person would do? Kind of crossed my mind as I was throwing it out there, and I was like, you know what, this is what it is. I don't recommend this company to other people for these reasons. You know, I mean, it's not enlightened or not enlightened. It just is what it is. You know, this company sucks.
Yeah.
And they're trying to railroad me. Don't use these guys.
No, I think it's perfectly enlightened. I think, you know, if you were if you have to question your behavior and judge yourself against some measure, you know, am I acting like Ramana Maharshi? Like he's the yardstick for enlightenment. And all I know about him is they really cleaned up the archives to make him look enlightened, and he really
I saw some of his stuff where he was. I think it's the same guy. I get confused with these different names, but I saw him arguing with. He's probably my age, maybe a little younger, our age, and he was arguing with some people in some little apartment living room, and he was. I mean, they were pissed. They were just going at it. Guy was just.
That sounds like UG Krishnamurti.
Well, no, it wasn't UG. But
Oh, was it?
UG was great about that stuff. But no, it was the guy that wrote "I Am That."
Yeah, Nisargadatta.
Oh my God, he was just going at it with these guys, and it was an old VHS, really shitty recording and stuff. But you could tell somebody just kind of like turned the camera on him. UG is funny. He'll if you notice, I don't know if you ever saw any of this stuff where he says turn the camera off, because there's a lot of times he doesn't want people to see what he's doing and what he's saying and stuff. And I thought that was hilarious. And the guy that's running the camera is like, wait a minute, that's why I'm here. I'm here to record everything, like the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And he's like, well, here's some ugly for you. Shut the fucking camera off. I thought it was hilarious. UG, the best thing I ever saw with UG was, well, there's several things, but they asked him, what do you tell people when they ask you if there's God? I've seen him lose it on people over that, but I've seen him also. He said, I usually give them money. Like when my kids, my grandkids come to me and they ask me what God is, I just give them money. And they know that every time because every time I see them, they ask me what God is, and I give them cash.
I think I heard him say that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah. There's I don't think I could believe in a higher power in that way, that that it lordeth over us in some way.
Well, no. It's not a God at all in my humble, not that I know anything, but it's not a deity. I mean, it's not a it's not a God. There's a deity requires cause and effect. It's like an explanation and just pops. Immediate experience as like the unmoved mover, the prime mover. Well, all you're basically saying is that you're making a story up about something that explains something, but it doesn't explain anything. But it literally, for me, is the antithesis of that. It's the lack of cause and effect in what appears to be this here and now, and that's what why I call the page sourcelessness, is that there is no prime mover, there is no beginning or end, there is no energy transmitting from one spot to another by way of a path. That's just all the story, like energy.
Well, send me your links to your group and your
absolutely
website.
I'll do it.
And and if you wouldn't mind this copy of any recording.
Absolutely. Just do me a favor. If I send you this raw, don't have them, don't put out the part where I went to the bathroom.
Oh, no. And I think we went in a lot of areas maybe I wouldn't want to share, all the heavy political stuff.
Yeah.
I think we may have. I don't always like talking about people either, like Robert Saltzman and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't mind you and me, but I mean, it's being recorded. Right. I wouldn't put it out there.
Right.
Because I don't like to gossip about specific people,
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, I was just sharing a factual situation, and I kind of, I think it's interesting. We both had these same experiences,
Right.
and sort of came out the same way. Like, I'm just gonna do my own thing. I don't need those guys, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to worship those cats. I could just do my own thing.
Yeah. And essentially that's, that to me is that is the message. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's, you come to a place where you don't need somebody else to tell you anything,
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, but it's nice. I like being around kind people. I like being around like-minded people, paradoxically speaking, but it's like, but there's no need for somebody to tell you what is and is not, this, a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
I
real
don't even know.
question.
Do you know how? So, is there a way to edit a video from Zoom?
I don't think so. I've got to
Oh,
do it. I've got to do it with the computer. When I get the computer Wednesday, I will learn how to do that, and I'll tell you how I'm doing it.
okay. Yeah, because if you if you figure it out, maybe you can teach me, and I can measure. Because I think I know how to do it from a YouTube thing,
Right. Yeah.
or I don't know, but I usually do it just on my stupid iPhone. I pull up the camera thing, make a little video. You can edit from there very simply. I don't use any. I don't even have a computer. I just have this, so I don't have any software. I just do it with the free stuff that's available, and then that's it. Keep it simple. So I don't even know if I could manipulate a Zoom, but if you figure it out, then
Absolutely. Yeah.
we'll share our, what we find out, what we figure out along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm just
I'm just
doing what I can with what I have.
I'm just glad you're here. And that, I mean, I'm there's like all week long I hear people say, "Oh, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there," and then nobody shows up. But I'm just glad you're here. Because
Well, I'm glad to be here, man. This is great. I really had a great time. And if you're going to do it every Monday, most likely I'll be a regular.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope
because
so.
it's great. These conversations are great, and they, they do. I've been critical of this statement, but maybe now that like we really went deep, it's like there's an energy that is present when it's being discussed.
Right.
That that's a different energy from talking about politics, let's say, or so. I could feel it, like when we would get into certain areas, it felt a little more dead.
Right. Right. Yeah, I
Then
get that too.
when we start like really getting into the mystery and the how this awe and wonder of it all, then I would start that become more alive.
Yeah.
So it's funny how what you focus on, in a way, not to sound like law of attraction, but that really does become your experience.
Absolutely.
So sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, man. My fault.
No, I laugh a lot. I laugh at my
I
own
interrupted you.
comments.
I was about to say I just messaged you the sourcelessness.com page and the and an invite to the group.
All right.
So that, yeah, that's in your messages there. So yeah, and I'll see what I got to do about getting this meeting shared. I've been having problems. Like there's a few meetings that they never sent to my email, and I'm trying to get my tech guy to tell me, and he's saying that no, they're all in this like in one email, and I'm saying no, they're not, and he's saying yes, they are, and I said, well, okay, this one's an individual meeting, this one's an individual meeting, this one's an individual meeting, and now you're saying 3 different meetings at different times all came out at the same email. When this takes a minute to before they email it, when they do, and once I get it, I'll send it. And
Great.
just do me a favor.
I won't share it.
Yeah, the whole thing with Osho and and Saltzman. Did you see the thing with Saltzman and Newman?
Oh yeah,
Saltzman
yeah,
and,
yeah.
oh my God, I felt bad for Saltzman, man. I was like, damn, dude.
Well,
He was getting crushed.
that's why he became so passive aggressive towards, sort of neo-Advaita or whatever you want to call it, a radical non-duality. Yeah, he
Yeah.
really he didn't take that well, because you'll notice his posts after that were really targeting people that speak that way, that say, no one here, nothing happening, etc.
Right.
So are you in Nothing Cafe, that group?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, but you're not in it.
I think I might be. I'm not sure.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I am actually. Nothing
I
Cafe.
left once, and then I got invited back in.
Yeah.
People could just put you in groups.
Yeah. Yeah. I got
didn't
invited back.
realize that. I
Yeah.
was like, I fucking left this group. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah, it's funny too because like I had left. I got kicked out of that other group, and they invited me back, and that. I mean, it's just I'm fine.
Rainbows. Well, we can say it now.
Rainbows,
We're not
yeah.
going to use
Yeah.
this, right? We're not.
Yeah, right. I'm not gonna. It's just one of those things where, yeah. I mean, I've heard so many people said the same thing that I left thinking the same thing. It's just the same thing you're saying. It's just like, man, I don't need your approval. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I don't need you to tell me what's okay and what's not okay. Yeah. Especially when forget. Anyway.
Well, the thing is, those folks are in a lot of different groups, so it's hard to get away from them sometimes, unless you block
I'm telling you what, man. Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah,
because they'll come after you in a different. It doesn't even have to be their group. They'll go after you in any group.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got a lot of people that like they'll come after me about the brain thing, the object of brain, and you're not your brain, or your time and space. I know I get repetitive and stuff, and so I try to just stay in my lane. I just stay on my page and in my group, and I mean, other people invite me to their groups, and I'll join, and every now and again I might test the water a little bit, but I'm always reminded why I just come back to. Yeah, I just like this is why
I left in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember this feeling of like, come on, I mean, for me, I like to be supportive. Like everybody that, no matter what you're posting in I don't know, not really group, I'm gonna give you a heart. I'm gonna give you love, and if anything, I'll be encouraging. Or if you say something that I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I'll say, okay. What does this mean exactly? I mean, what are you saying? And whether or not I believe in them or believe what they're saying or agree with them is irrelevant. I just want to know what you're saying. And so, but I'm not going to say, well, that's wrong. And this is, blah, blah, blah. Tell you what you can't say and cannot say. I don't even look at posts. Posts just get posted automatically. I don't even, I look at them after the fact. There's nobody to judge you. There's nobody.
Oh, that's great. You just throw them up. That's great.
Yeah. People post
I've
whatever
had
they
a lot
want.
of stuff that wasn't posted. Like you post it, but it never actually shows up because they deny it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I never know why. Like, I think what I'm saying is close enough to what everyone else seems to be saying. So I don't know why it doesn't fit in.
Yeah. And that's the thing, fit in, that's the weirdest thing, it's like,
well, that's what exactly.
What does that mean? What are we doing here?
Well, it's like it's like a fundamentalist non-duality, it's orthodox fundamentalist non-duality, and you have to, toe the line.
Holy crap, man. I'm telling you what, man. I'm telling you what. It's. I mean, it didn't take long. I mean, the first thing I asked the one guy was, first time I ever spoke to him, the guy from Rainbows. I said, they were trying to get us to talk because we have some similar ideas about consciousness and the lack thereof. And I said, all I want to know from you is, did you vote for Trump twice? And he wouldn't answer me. Yeah, well, his first thing was, the first thing he said was, well, here in California, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, so you're a victim. You're a victim, and you want to vote for Trump twice, but your vote doesn't count because you're in California. Is that what I'm understanding? It doesn't really matter how you vote because your vote doesn't count because of the injustice of the voting system. But you did vote for Trump twice, right? And he was like, and I was like, I'm out, man. Fuck you.
I live in a blue state. My vote probably didn't count either, but I still voted for Biden.
Exactly. I'm in North Carolina, and we're definitely one of those. I mean, it's a battleground here, man. I mean, there's, the fact. Well, the fact. Well, it's a red state, but it's becoming blue because, they keep changing the voter laws, and they keep changing the parameters of the voting system. What essentially it is that it's just like slaves after the Civil War. A blue vote is essentially, for most neighborhoods, most zones, is worth about 2/3 of a red vote. So, and which is why, for example, I think Congress, I think the red Congress is only representing 100 million people, whereas the blue is 150 million. But we're dead even, 50-50. But 50 more million people voted blue. But yet, because of the what is it, the college, what is it called?
Yeah, electoral college.
Because of the electoral college, we essentially, Democrats are only 2/3 the vote that a Republican is. And that is pretty much everywhere. And they keep trying to make it harder and harder and harder for blue to win. And then when they do win, they do red things. So,
well, it's like I was saying earlier, it's like my mother's gay, my daughter's gay. I just found out my niece is gay. We were at a family thing and she brought her girlfriend. So it's like, I can't, I can't belong to a party that seems to want to separate people and not believe in civil rights and equal rights and, all that. I just can't.
I'm not gonna vote with the Klan. I mean, there's no part. Well, there's no part of me that is gonna vote for with Pride Boys, the Proud Boys or whatever they are, and the Klan. Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's just not gonna. I mean, and yet there it is. That's what's happening. We've got this horrific system where the powerful cry about not having enough power.
Oh God.
Yeah.
All right, Howard. Well, we did it. 11-3.
It wasn't 3 o'clock.
Epic. Well, we hit it. We made. You said you were going to end at 3. We're at 3:09 according to my.
Oh wow! Look at that. Unbelievable,
so,
man.
That was another epic marathon non-duality session.
Walter, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Walter. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
We'll do it again. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. All right. And recording. Recording stop.